Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So I see we have my patron Greg Hartwick in the side chat. There will be strong language and adult themes. And with us we have Godless Sewing and Jenny Morgan.
Arctic Girl. Frozen Tundra Girl.
Yep. So is today really National Flannel Day?
Yep.
Awesome. In honor of that, I put on my my Hillbilly Special shirt.
Yeah, and it's appropriate because, in Minnesota here, we're in the middle of a week of below zero all week.
I won't.
Literally, the daytime high all week was like 2 above.
I won't tell you what the temperature is here.
Yeah, I know. I saw you were running around outside already.
I was trying to be fancy and
without even having a hat on.
I was trying to be fancy and broadcast outside, but it just wasn't happening today. I was trying to show off the sunshine, so now it's just gonna glow from over there. It's not as sunny. Like there's something passing through, like a storm or something. But I enjoy the sun when it comes out. At least I try to.
The sun is out here. I think it's up to 7 degrees now.
So when I lived up north, I learned a lesson about how just because the sun is shining doesn't mean it's hot. Because out here, when the sun's shining, it's hot. When I lived up north, I remember seeing the sun and being like, oh, yay, and putting my shorts on and running outside, and it's 30 degrees outside. And it was the middle of summer. So I learned my lesson real quick. The
sun warms your car up real nice in the winter. Gets it to about 60 degrees, 70 degrees maybe.
Oh, wow. What the temperature is right now. And it's winter here.
I drive with my driver's side window open in winter because I like the fresh air.
How do you think, would you be able to handle 102 temperature out here?
No.
I feel weird if it doesn't go over 100 in August. If it's not making you regret living out here, then it gets so hot out here. It's almost unbearable.
I really cannot function in the heat. Never have been able to. I just hate the heat.
Nerdy and Greg, how's it going? Oh, Nerdy has flannel trousers. I do too. I just thought that would be a different kind of show if I came out just wearing my flannel pants or boxers. It's my hillbilly fancy.
I actually have a pair of jeans that are lined with flannel for working outside in the winter.
Those are the best. Those are the best. That's one thing I miss about living up north is the clothes. Because you get to wear these beautiful coats that are just the warmest thing on earth. And here,
sweaters.
Yeah, exactly. Living up north is what got my obsession with wearing long sleeve every day. I do have a giant, awesome Microraptor. Awesome. I have a giant collection of sweaters, and of course, I post some of my jackets, not all of them. I have pea coats, all kinds of stuff. But I just don't experience the weather. It gets colder in Nevada than it does in California.
Yeah, well, along the coast there, you've got the Gulf Stream flowing up the coast. So that does a lot to moderate the temperature.
And I'm trying not to brag. I feel bad because it's like permanent summer around here.
Well, on the other side of it is that even though you grow most of our food, we can afford to buy it.
Yeah.
Which is really bizarre that the produce grown in California is more expensive in California than it is in Minnesota.
It's cheaper to buy an orange from a blood orange from Texas than it is to buy Valencia oranges, which are picked 15 miles from my house.
Yep.
It's the funniest thing.
Do you eat horseradish?
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with horseradish.
Because you know
Like
that
not even like joking around.
Almost all the horseradish comes from where I'm living right now.
Oh, are you serious?
This
Are you
part of
serious?
Wisconsin, and yep.
There's if driving towards the beach on the 126, which wouldn't be a reference to anyone, it's the Ventura Highway. There's farms. That's where you see you could literally see migrant workers out in the fields, and they have stands. And that's the only place in California where you'll get a fair price. Because when it hits the grocery store, you're paying triple, you know.
Yeah, we've only got a growing season of a few months here, but when the stuff's in season, that's all along the lesser highways.
Yeah.
There are just farm stands all over the place and farmers markets in every city.
I love that. That's why I'm kind of mad. Like, they're telling us not to leave the county, and I'm like, well, you're gonna have to stop me on that one. But I also don't want to catch COVID or bring it back in to my county. But there's stands all up and down, and depending on what time of year, they have different fruits and vegetables. Strawberries are the best when they're fresh.
Yeah, I haven't seen decent strawberries here in the last 2 years. All we keep getting are just the hothouse ones.
Oh, I know. The only
and
reason,
they're big and red, but they have no flavor.
I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. If I'm not making a funny face when I eat them, I don't think it's a strawberry.
Yeah.
Purple, we have farms here where you go out to their hundreds of acres of strawberries and pick your own.
I know they're around. Somehow the ones locally grown never get into the supermarkets here, though.
Well, true. Go pick your own then.
Yeah, well.
Godless Scummer is trying to join.
Last summer, that really wasn't an option. Those places weren't open.
So, I went cherry picking.
Yeah, Jeff, didn't you get a link yet?
I went cherry picking within the past 5 years, and I picked so many cherries that I don't think I'm going to eat cherries for another 10 years. I took home about 15 pounds, and I ate all 15 pounds. And if I see another cherry, I will run in the opposite direction. But they were so good because they were fresh from the tree. But then, and I'm going to my friends. I'm like, make me a cherry pie. I miss going to the farms, and like, even we have poppy fields out here, the California poppy. Like, I miss going and just taking my son out there and just things like that. But all the stands are closed, all the restaurants are closed, and But in certain areas, like people have stayed open to be almost political, because it's not. There's some people that need the money, and there's other people I know they don't need the money, and they're staying open just to defy the county orders.
Well, it does worry me that what we're going to lose mostly are going to be the family-run businesses, and especially the mom-and-pop restaurants are the ones that are going to go under.
They're disappearing here in large amounts. Hi, African humanists. They're like the mom and pop industry has been pushed out by big business already here in California, but this will be the death of people that don't have millions of dollars. So basically, if you don't have the money to survive, you're going under. I mean, there's a woman I've known. I always joke. When I was in the 6th grade, I used to ditch, and I would go to her donut shop, and she'd always have her ponytail off to the side because it was the 80s, and she still owns the same donut shop. And she told me like 2 weeks ago she doesn't know if she'll be there 6 months from now, which is sad. Her family has been in that same spot for over 45 years. That same and they've opened up multiple stores across my town, and they're going to close all the stores.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and that's the government's, not really helping. I mean, when they did the COVID relief plan, how much of it got chewed up by the corporations and even the mega churches. And it's like it should have been like, the first rule that should have been that any company with more than 50 employees wasn't eligible.
Seriously. Because it's funny you would say that, because all the companies that have less than 50 employees are going under.
Yeah. And, like Walmart, they're going to have a slightly less profitable year. They're not going to take a loss.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like the grocery store down the street from my house. They're like, oh, we're going to keep the change. Can we keep the change? I'm like, no. How many millions of dollars does that company rake in from just keeping the change from people, Yep. And they're already a giant corporation.
And they keep the change from all their customers, and then they take credit for the donation in the name of their company.
Are you talking about the donations Ronald McDonald House gets from McDonald's?
No, Ronald McDonald House is different, because I've seen their works. They have a house in my neighborhood. They have houses in LA. They actually put their works into fruition. Okay. So when you give money to the Ronald McDonald House, there's house, at least with my own eyes, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, even the organization I work with, like, we make sure that homeless people get clothes. There's no middleman. There's no like, people give us clothes and we give them to the homeless. There's no like tax. There's no, if you want to write off, you can on your taxes, but we're not making anybody do any extra hoops. One of the many jobs that I do.
You mean you're not like Salvation Army that makes people join the army of God first?
Oh, and the Goodwill, if you're physically or mentally disabled, they pay you half. And they have some tax break word they use. I always forget. Then I come on stream and say it, and I always forget what it is.
Yeah, Never Again, has a point that some people got it even though their income wasn't really impacted.
My phone's ringing.
But I do also see a thing that, especially like for the retail workers who were, getting paid minimum wage or not much more, that they definitely deserve something extra in this. But I know, there were some people who, honestly, I didn't really need it. I didn't really need the extra stimulus check. I was managing okay.
My phone rang and it clicked off the screen because I have an iPhone and a Mac computer, so they sync to each other, and they like to talk to each other and ruin everything. It's horrible when I'm watching a movie, and it's always at the good part when someone calls me.
Yeah, my computer keeps bugging me to sync my phone to it, and I'm like, why? I don't want to do this, but it keeps asking me, and there isn't any place to give it the option of never ask again.
So what happened is one night it just did it. And then now every time my phone rings, it changes the screen, and it asks me if I want to pick it up on the computer. But if I'm doing anything, it completely shuts all that. It takes it all, it basically puts it on the background.
I personally like the fact that the computers and phones and pads, everything work together so well.
I'm not griping too hard because I lose my phone all the time, and I can find one. I can use one to find the other at all times. I could just be like, all right, what stupid place did I leave my phone today?
Beep, 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 beep,
exactly. And that's the one thing. For as much sometimes I feel like we have too much technology, but then I could be like, Alexa, what's the height of Mount Kilimanjaro?
Kilimanjaro is 19,341 feet above sea level.
See, 19,000 feet above sea level. I needed to know that.
Alexa, what is the altitude of Mount Baldy in California?
Alexa, what's the altitude of Mount Baldy in California?
Mount Baldy, California's elevation is 4,193 feet.
Thank you, Alexa.
Alexa, thank you.
Alexa, would you please fart?
So Jen, when I it was recently my
ask-
birthday.
Please ask Alexa to fart.
So have you met my son? I'm offended at the questions my son has asked Alexa. So you could have met Alexa. Can you fart?
Okay, here's Big Fart. That was a trumpet one. Try asking me for a funny fart. Or say random.
Thank you, Alexa.
That was a funny one. Try asking me to play Mr. Farts. Or say random.
Alexa, thank you.
That was a funny one.
Stop.
Try asking me for a sex fart. Or say
Now it's repeating itself.
that was a back one. Try asking
So
me for a
Alexa,
fart.
please stop and thank you.
That was a quick
Hey,
fart.
Doc.
Try
Hello.
for a spicy fart. Or say random.
Random.
So did Alexa fart?
That was a cool
She
one.
did. Now it won't stop farting. Jenny has officially put a virus on my Alexa.
That was a very
A virus that makes you fart.
Yesterday it was glowing green, and I was like, Alexa, are you spying on me?
Yeah, I also have no interest in having
No.
any devices be voice activated.
Yeah, no, I don't want anything in my house that talks back and
Cancel.
without me knowing it.
Well, I also don't like the idea of any microphone being active,
just
you know, because you don't know what else might be
Cancel.
accessing it these days.
Good grief. It was my birthday and I got really bored. So I Amazon was giving these things away.
Oh,
Kinda.
hi, Angie.
How's it going, Doc?
Oh, I don't know. I'm moderately neato.
I was trying to do this outside, but that big fiery ball was washing me out.
I was
It
trying
is-
to do it outside, but my skin was cracking and falling off.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's 8 degrees where I'm at.
Oh,
We're below zero all week. I think our high temperature for the
Mhm.
entire week will be 2 above.
Yeah, it got down to trying to remember. -3, -4 last night.
they said it might get as high as 20 degrees in the next couple of days, but then it's going right back down to 5.
Yikes.
Yeah, this is a problem I have a lot. Is it seems electronic devices want to turn themselves on when I don't want them.
That's the one thing I've been sitting here like asking, like, Alexa, are you listening to me?
I'm designed to protect your privacy, so I only listen after your device detects the wake word, or if the action button is pushed. On Echo devices, you'll always know when your request is being processed because a blue light indicator will appear or an audio tone will sound. You can learn more by
Alexa.
visiting Amazon.com/Alexa privacy.
That's a yes. I've been messing with
It
this
was-
thing. I've been
That was a
asking.
long yes.
I've been asking Alexa a million useless questions. I've had fun. I've had fun with it. I really have.
So,
Alexa, how does the toilet work?
I ask about like what certain year people got patents and stuff. Where did that file go? I had. Speaking of which, where did that file go? Oh, here it is. So because it's Black History Month, my father worked for Rocketdyne and NASA, and this was his Apple IIe setup that he was so proud of. He loved his Apple II, but that's his workspace at Rocketdyne, and he used that same computer at NASA.
Yet another broken promise. Apple II forever.
Yeah. I still have that computer. I will pull it out one day when it makes me cry because I grew up playing like Reader Rabbit and Wheel of Fortune on that thing. I love the old Apple IIe.
That was the first computer I bought my nephew.
Those
Yeah,
were
but
great computers.
Apple II forever, and they only got up to E. They only got 20% of the way through the alphabet.
I'm
You know, I
I'm
mean,
so biased.
shouldn't we be having like an Apple IIm now?
We should be on Z.
I played the very first computer game I ever played was Lunar Lander, and it was a text-based game on an Apple One.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I wanted to buy the computer, but then I said, "What? I have to build my own case? What?" Because they sold just the board,
Oh yeah.
and you had to build everything else yourself.
Sorry, Jeff. The fifth person always gets hidden under the toolbar.
How's it going?
I thought that happened. Yeah, that tends to happen actually. I wanted to come in fifth.
Well, they only wanted like 15.
I was just being a bit snarky in the chat there. So
Yeah.
Alexa, tell Purple to let me into the stream.
I'm having too much fun. And that's the thing to go along with what Jenny was saying. Like, because I grew up and I've watched the progression of all this technology, I like having these stupid things around because I've watched it go even from those dumb little 2-bit Street Fighter games. You know, I thought that was the coolest thing. How's it going, Ox? When I was a kid, you know, I just love the progression. I still have an iMac G, I think. I have to look that one up. I have the old square iMac still. It's basically all my dad's old computers. But those
Hey,
things are
I
awesome.
remember when the bowling alley got its first Pong machine when they were way too expensive for anyone to think you'd ever have one at home.
That's like the donut shop I'm talking about. They still have the same Pac-Man that I played 30-something years ago when I used to ditch.
You know
thing
what?
is, though, if I ever go into a place that's still got one of those old machines, I'm compelled to go and play it.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
I take my son in there. And that's why I'm so sad that it's closing because that place has been there as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
You know what was the biggest malfunction they had with the Pong machines? They underestimated how popular they were, and the coin box kept overflowing, and it would drop quarters onto the circuit board and short it out.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I heard stories about that because they proved to be way more popular than anybody thought they were going to be.
You know, I still, whenever I go downtown, I'm still looking because you can buy bootleg emulators, and they have like all the old games like Space Invaders, 1943, when you're the plane and you're shooting everybody down. I miss all those old games.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the ones I remember. Zaxxon used to love that one.
Oh yeah.
All those games that had 2000 in the title because that was the far future.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, this
I
is
go
the
with
year.
the original Star Wars arcade game was awesome as well. People remember that.
That was a few years before my generation.
Does anybody
Oh,
remember Death Race
that's awesome.
2020?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had these little 8-bit zombies walking around the board, and you had to run them down.
Yeah, it was banned in many, many locations. It was because it was so
Yep.
brutal and vicious.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because it was going to promote violence.
Yeah, they let my generation play Wolfenstein and Doom, which was like you were walking around shooting like Nazi zombies or shooting zombies in general, you know.
Well, that's Wolfenstein was okay because you were killing Nazis. They never let that
I
happen
had-
today. They can't have you killing Nazis anymore.
I had the original. One time, I had the original, like 8-bit, like really bad stick figure version of Castle Wolfenstein. I had the original Wolfenstein game, and I wish I kind of kept on to that now, because at the time, I don't think anyone had an idea how big Wolfenstein was going to get. It wasn't really it became like a first-person shooter. That it became like a big franchise kind of thing, you know.
You know, Jen and I were kind of talking about that. She asked me, "What was your first console?" And I told her it was a ColecoVision. And we ended up talking for like 45 minutes about a ColecoVision. Those were awesome. Those were awesome.
My first console was the Atari 2600. First computer, the Atari 800.
Yeah, my first home console didn't even have the cartridges. It just had the Pong and hockey and table tennis, which were all basically just variants on Pong with the ball moving a little faster or slower.
I have a where is
My first cartridge game was a Bally Midway system.
this? I love the old simulators. I don't know. Oh, the cord's cut. This is a simulator. Oh, whoops, wrong direction. And it has Madden 95 on it and hockey NHL LP 95 on it. I still play it. It's the old SNES version. And it's just as hard as the hockey was back in 1995. But it's amazing how crappy the graphics were to the technology that we have now.
Yeah, 8-bit graphics, Yahoo.
I still play.
Yeah.
I'm a geek. I still play my. I still have a Sega hooked up. There's a screen right behind my computer. I still play my Sega, and I have a N64 on my computer.
I gotta take off.
See you later.
Okay,
Jenny.
all right.
I always remember the computer game. I think it was made for the 1986 Soccer World Cup Carnival. Possibly the worst licensed game in the history of video games.
So I'm gonna ask you kind of a dumb question, Jeff. When I was a kid, we would obsessively play FIFA soccer, and when I say kid, I mean like I was like 17, and I would we would get in fist fights over it. We would make bets. That was my first introduction to gambling. Do people do that in the UK over FIFA soccer?
Yeah, possibly. I haven't played FIFA in a while because I'm a bit outdated.
It's been 20 years for me. It's been like 20 years.
I may a little later this year treat myself to a PS5 and then get the most up-to-date FIFA. But although what I hear, Electronic Arts are like just complete arseholes now, and trying to get you to buy add-ons all the time. But
and the real grift is you're basically buying the same game every year.
Yeah.
So this is the same thing with American football. Like
this is like the Madden games. Yeah. This is why only every 2 or 3 years I'd update a FIFA game after a while, because it was like it didn't change that much from like the previous year's games, and you're like, okay. But so I can remember It was on the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis, but the big soccer game in the 90s was Sensible Soccer. It was mainly on the Amiga, as well known for. That was so much fun. I mean, Sensible Software was such a great company anyway, the games they came out with. But they, that was so many years ahead of its time. That really was.
That's how I feel about the Sega Game Gear, because that was the first light up handheld video game that I saw. That was like legitimate color screen.
Actually, I'm trying to remember what came out first. Was it the Game Gear or the Atari?
No,
the Atari Lynx.
The Game Boy came out first, and then
the Game Boy was the first one. But then you had you had the Sega Game Gear, and then you had the Atari Lynx. I'm not sure which one of the two came out first, the Game Gear or the Lynx. But the Lynx was really cool as well.
Absolutely. How's it going, Stool? You should jump in. The reason I brought up FIFA is because it got so bad that our parents were like, "You guys can't play it in our house because you get so rowdy." Yeah. we would bet things and get in fights over it. We were dumb kids, just having fun. In the good old days. Perp, did you ever have a game like that where you would obsessively play it?
Oh yeah, I had some games I got into, wasted a lot of time on.
That's like
I wasn't so much playing them against other people though.
I was like that with Tekken. I would play Tekken for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of with Never Again here, but they didn't really have them when I was a kid. Home video games really weren't a thing until after I had gone through technical school.
They were like in their infancy when I was a kid, and it wasn't until I was in junior high and high school did the really cool stuff start coming out. I was in that weird era.
I was probably at the era when like the 2600 was becoming. But I will say, when I got the 2600, it had been out a few years. I didn't get it like it's a brand new sort of thing. It had been there, at the time I got my Atari 2600, like the Nintendo had already been out for a couple of years, so I was a little bit behind. The only console I think I ever got as a kid, which was like the big in thing,
maybe,
and I actually did sort of tell my mum this a few years later, but the one thing I was begging her to get was for me was the Sega Master System, which was an 8-bit console, and it was. I mean, I think it was as good as the NES, but it just was never as popular. But I asked for that because I was like, there's no way I'm getting the NES or let alone the Genesis or the Mega Drive, was it's called here, which was like the brand new thing. So I thought I'd ask her for the Master System, which is like the cheap low end console on the market. And when she went into shop and picked up the Mega Drive, is this the one you wanted? And I'm like, I was about to say no, it's actually this one, and then I thought, no, shut the fuck up. It was like that's the one time I ever got like the brand new thing, and it was because my mum didn't understand the one I was asking for, and it was like this. Okay, just shut the fuck up here. Shut the fuck up. There's a good thing just happened here.
So I
told her like years later that wasn't like what I was asking for, but I kind of kept my gob shut at the time.
Heck yeah. I'm a picker, and I go out and buy stuff all the time from people, and someone will be like, "Oh, here's this," or like a friend of mine was given a real blunderbuss.
Yep.
And yeah. I'm like, I had to shut my mouth because I was trying to tell the lady, like, you shouldn't be giving these away. But she was so grateful that we fixed her house that, like, she was like, oh, trying to give us stuff. We're like, oh, we don't need anything, but I have to tell myself to shut up all the time. All the time. Especially in the picking world.
Oh, Nerdy's bringing back some memories there. Sorry.
Even when I bought my Nintendo 64, they only wanted like $15 for it. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah, I was just checking it up, and the Atari 2600 came out in 1997. So I was in high school at that point.
97, did you say? How what?
Or
When?
1977, rather,
I
sorry.
was going to say.
I was in high school.
Yeah, the original retail was $199, but adjusted, that would have been over $800 today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's like they were available when I was in high school, but I sure as hell couldn't afford one.
I got lucky in a lot of ways because I was the youngest boy in my neighborhood. So when I got a Nintendo, everybody had moved on to everything else. So everyone around the neighborhood gave me their games. It was awesome. It was even like that, like with G.I. Joes when I was a kid. Yeah. Like it was known that I was the youngest, so I got hooked up.
Most of my PS3 games are games of everyone handed off to me when they got a PS4. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I still have the PS3 right now. I but I am like thinking maybe a bit later this year I may treat myself to the 5 and just not bother with the 4.
Just wait until all the glitches are out.
Yeah,
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just
waiting. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I was going to buy one for my son, and I'm glad I didn't because someone that works at my job, one person got ripped off. They opened it up, and it was a box of like clothes that were heavy enough to resemble a PlayStation. And then they bought another one, and the code was locked. There was like something that happened in the PS where it was locked.
As Nerdy says, yeah, just wait until it's actually available to buy. Yeah, PS5.
So
it's such a.
Yeah, I got my first Commodore 64 in 1982, and that was when the price had finally come down to be under $500.
I mean, this is weird thing now.
I'm trying to think. I probably got it around the same time.
You can buy this like new version of the C64 now with a shit ton of built-in games. It's just obviously appealing to the nostalgia sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
They sell a bunch of those in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I've seen those. There's even a 64 you can buy as a kit and assemble it yourself.
They've done a similar thing with the Genesis / Mega Drive as well.
Kind of like this one. This has hockey and football in it, but it's only 2 games, but it emulates the old Nintendo games.
Yeah, the new C65 machine. It's actually basically the entire C64 on a single chip.
Well, there's already been a C65 before that, though, wasn't there? Which was like a meaningless upgrade of the 64 Commodore did in the 80s or something.
There was that. Generally, it was marketed under the name of the Plus 4.
Yeah.
Which was basically, it was supposed to be a C64.
I mean,
that came with 4 built-in programs like a word processor and such.
Yeah.
But the thing they fucked up is that they changed all the ports so that you couldn't use any of the previous accessories. Even the game controllers and the joysticks, they changed the shape of the port.
Commodore as a company, fuck up? Never.
Yeah.
I mean, that company was...
Well, what they were trying to do was make sure you couldn't... They were trying to make sure you couldn't buy the cheap third-party game controllers to use with it.
I mean, let's be honest.
And that just pissed everybody off because then they couldn't use any of the stuff they had bought for the previous machines.
Let's be honest. After Jack Tramiel left that company, it was just a clusterfuck from there to the day it died.
Which was sad, because it's...
Yeah.
They were very innovative. It was the first home computer you could buy for under $1,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I have a lot of old like Future Life magazines and a lot of old Star Trek fan club magazines because I was a total geek, still am. But it's amazing that they wanted like 1,300 for an IBM computer, 1,400. You know, I look back and laugh at some of the ads.
I mean, I've still got a load of. I'm pretty sure I've still got a load of actual Mega Drive cartridges in my house somewhere.
Oh, I have
From like the 90s.
floppy disks. I have old. I still have Barb's Tale, the game. Just actually, I have tons of games on floppy disks.
Let me have a little look. See? Yeah, a little look if I go into my spare room here. But I'm pretty sure they're all up here.
Well, and that's the big reason I don't really play video games now, and I never got into things like World of Warcraft, was that I got myself in enough trouble with that stuff when I had my Commodore 64.
Oh,
In particular, there was one adventure game called Fantasy, spelled with a PH.
Yeah.
And I wasted just weeks and weeks solid on that thing without doing anything worthwhile.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's so I know I have that compulsive tendency, and it's just better for me to avoid it.
I
Yeah.
almost failed.
Up here.
I don't want to age myself too much, but I almost failed a certain grade because of Final Fantasy VII. So I
Yeah.
completely understand.
Well, I
Yeah,
went and I took it to the extreme. I went
I
and
had some of those too, Jeff.
I haven't quite been able to get myself part of them, really.
I knew enough about machine language programming that I started poking at the game's code.
Oh wow!
And
Oh wow!
the main thing I found was I figured out where the character stats were, so that I could actually go and I could change my character stats on the disc before the game loaded. So, like, I made a party that I had maxed out everybody's attributes to 255, and basically I had a party of gods walking around.
Exactly.
I mean, even went up and took Zeus out in like 3 rounds.
I love that. That's like in Sonic 1. I still remember the programmer's code to the first Sonic. It got so bad that I could beat the game in less than like a half an hour. It was bad. Oh man, I miss those old days. I used to go to the newsstand and write down all the cheat codes in Nintendo Power because I didn't get the magazine.
I remember typing in programs from Compute Magazine a lot.
No. Do you still read magazines?
Well, a couple of the woodworking magazines is about all now.
I get I don't want to dox myself too hard, but I get Scientific American.
Ah,
I've been reading it since I was a kid. The one thing I love about Scientific American is that they're usually 2 or 3 months ahead, or even a year ahead of stuff that's going to hit the news. So I'll read something, like I'll read an article, and they'll be talking about it next month.
okay. I'm stealing this from Ox on Twitter, so I'll probably get a copyright strike here. But Ox did a portrait of No Dirty Rodent.
Awesome. I haven't been on Twitter enough today. Oh, that's awesome.
I wasn't. I just saw it mentioned in the side chat, so I had to go look it up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And the funny thing is, whenever I've seen Nerdy appear on screen, he appears as a pickle and not as an actual rodent.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got X with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember way back when Sloth Girl had the original Genesis console at one point. When those were still a new thing and the very first Sonic game.
Yeah, I Yeah, I remember absolutely just loving the original Sonic the Hedgehog. I just
Oh,
the
great times.
Genesis,
Great.
Mega Drive. It's just, and I still think that holds up today as a game.
Like I said, I still when I'm having a bad day, I still play my Sega. It's literally sitting right next to me. It has its own screen behind my computer.
I still like a
love-
lot of the old games. I was seriously considering buying one of the Atari flashback consoles.
Well, I walked into a Goodwill and I saw that Sega and I like made the total like, oh, the geek noise. Like, I will take that right now.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
just
so
they've
excited.
got one that's in the Atari 2600 cabinet that's got like 200 games built into it.
Those are awesome. Those
So
are,
yeah, I was considering buying one of those. I mean, even the old 8-bit graphics are still kind of entertaining.
to me, they still hold up, but like I still watch black and white movies. I love like old movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I'm not a snob in that way.
Well, one of my favorite. I mean, I've got to admit I haven't watched it in a little while, but one of my favorites is an old Russian silent movie, Battleship Potemkin. I still think that Eisenstein. I still think that's brilliant to this day.
There's oh man, there's too many. I watch a lot of old like Boris Karloff movies, a lot of Hitchcock. I love Foreign Correspondent. If you haven't seen that movie, it is I won't give it away. Hitchcock movies were the best because you have to be paying attention while you're watching them. And for someone where pot's illegal in California, they're great movies. They still hold up to this very day.
Yeah.
I remember the old Alfred Hitchcock Presents TV series.
It was on even in my day. It was still being shown. Those were just great shows. Because he wanted you to think.
Yeah.
I even the old Twilight Zones. I love when they have marathons on TV.
Yep, and the original Twilight Zone. I mean, if you watch that series, there are a lot of actors who are famous now who were completely unknown when they appeared in that.
Oh yeah,
Including Jack Klugman and Ron Howard.
William,
Ron Howard's very first TV appearance was as a kid in the original Twilight Zone.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bill Mooney was in that before he was in Lost in Space, wasn't he?
Not sure about that one.
Is that Billy?
I think it may have been.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but I don't remember every episode, so he may have been in there.
Is that the same person that was in Babylon 5?
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
He's most famous is Will Robinson in the original Lost in Space. Yeah, but yeah, my generation, I grew up with him. He was Lanier in Babylon 5 to me. You know.
Ooh. Please send me pics of your sewing
Bill's
machine.
already taken.
Please send me pics of your sewing machine. And that's not innuendo. I love sewing machines.
Well, actually, Will, I've got a serger here that I just got back from the shop the other day, so I haven't had a chance to test it out now.
Oh man, I love sewing machines. I'm a geek. Yeah. Like I can fix them and everything.
I wish I'd known how to fix it, but this wasn't bad. Actually, we had picked this up at a thrift store in Michigan before we moved.
Oh, that's awesome!
But found out that the feed dogs were jammed, so it wasn't working. So I had to bring it in and get it taken care of. I haven't actually sewn on a serger before.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, I've got to admit, us all geeking out about old consoles. I've got to admit, you're the first person I met who can really geek out about sewing machines, though. You know?
I geek out. I geek out when it comes to sewing machines. It's because I was classically trained, and so I grew up with my dad. My dad would sew. My grandmother was like a seamstress, but she lived to be 99, so she was from that era where she made her own clothes. And you couldn't even tell the difference. Like after it was one of those things. So I learned, and she took such good care of her machine. Oh, I put it in storage. It still looks brand new, and the machine's like 70 years old. All the
Sloth Girl
colors.
wants me to build her a treadle table so
Oh,
that
those
she
are
can
so
actually
much
have a foot pedal to operate her yarn winding machine.
Those are so much fun. I'm gonna make a rug one day. That's on my my bucket list.
Yeah, she's just for that. She's afraid that an electric motor will run it too fast. She needs better control of it.
You gotta go old school. You gotta go
Yep.
medieval with your foot pedal. That's awesome. That's
So,
awesome.
I'll see us in the chat. Still, come on in here because Will's waiting for you to come in and call him a racist. So-
I am. My day's not complete unless Stool's calling me a racist.
Well, is pervert good enough?
It's kind of a hand job, but it'll do for now.
Well, that's a more general one for everyone. That's not specifically at Will. Then
You know, Star Trek 2. Star Trek was another one of those shows where people debuted on there. Next Generation as well. There was a lot of people on Next Generation that either were on their way in or on their way out of being famous. You know.
well, even William Shatner was in the original Twilight Zone before he got cast for Star Trek.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, that's that's such a weird episode when he looks out is that when they're on the plane and they look out the window and there's like dinosaurs and like those are good episodes.
That's not the one I was remembering, but I think he was actually in like 3 different episodes.
Because isn't there an episode where they're stuck on the plane and they like go to the past? I could be confusing. There's certain episodes that run together.
Yeah, well, and there was also there were 2 remakes of the Twilight Zone. That there was like one in the 1980s, and there was another one that was like 97 or 98, I think.
You know, also like I grew up watching John Wayne movies. John Wayne had a base. If it was a war movie, he acted a certain way. If it was a Western, he acted a certain way. So a lot of his movies almost had the same plot.
So I had a similar thing today about I mean, obviously a bit more my generation, but I was sitting for a couple of days ago watching all the old Sharp TV series, you know, Sean Bean, the Napoleonic Wars thing.
Oh yeah.
And then suddenly seeing how many people in that who went on to be like really famous, and you like looking for it, sort of, oh my god, there's a young Daniel Craig. Oh my god, there's a young Paul Bettany. There's a young Liz Hurley. It's just like all of a sudden, it's like suddenly there's this cavalcade of people that went on to be like Hollywood A-listers in each episode, you know.
Even when we used to watch Blake 7 in season 3, I think it's season 3 or 4, there's an episode where Villa is finally the hero, and like this guy kind of tricks him in to help him, and it's Colin Baker.
Colin Baker, yes.
Yeah, who later would be the Doctor, you know.
Oh,
It's
I remember the episode. It's been so long since I've seen it. I didn't realize that was Colin Baker.
That's the one episode where Villa gets to be the hero.
I'll stand to this day. Colin Baker, it's such a shame he never got a real fair chance at Doctor Who.
Well, he was
To this day, I'll
a great
say that.
actor, though. He was honestly such a great actor, but he had some of the worst scripts ever written, ever.
And that goddamn outfit they came up with him for that costume department, BBC Costumes come up with that outfit.
You know what's
Like,
sad?
just
It's the only one.
At that point, it's like Jonathan Nathan Turner. What the fuck are you thinking? Giving him that outfit.
It's like the only one I'd probably wear that jacket in public. It's funky. It's so
now it's kind of cool, but it was at the time it was just like, what the hell? Like, you know.
That's the thing. Like the Doctor was always out there, you know.
But it was a bit sad that they kind of like bumped him out of that series before he'd really even had a chance to get to grips with the role. And if I don't know if you ever listened to any of the like Doctor Who like audio plays that were done in like late 90s or whatever.
I listened to a lot of the newer ones.
Yeah, but if you listen to some of the ones where they got Colin Baker, they managed to get Colin Baker and Peter Davison back for a few of them. But you listen to some of the Colin Baker ones, you just see like what a missed opportunity that they had there and how good he actually was.
He's such a good actor. He's over the top. He's the definition of over the top. But
Yeah.
I like that
It's-
that campy kind of over the top style.
Yeah, I think he had the problem as well that before he did Doctor Who, he'd kind of been typecast as villains as well. So
He was,
Yeah.
because he had that demeanor and that he's a big dude.
I think Peter Davidson also got, underrated a lot. I think he did a really good
Yeah.
job on it. I think just following Tom Baker, that was something no one could have ever fully lived up to, because Tom Baker became the iconic Doctor that everyone recognized.
Absolutely.
he was
And
everyone. And I
Peter
like
Davison-
obviously Peter Davidson much consciously made an effort to play it very different.
And he had some great episodes, though. He had some great episodes. Which one is when they're on the pirate ship?
Oh God, what was it called?
Oh, do you mean the one where they're on the sailing ships racing?
They're in outer space.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
I don't remember the title of it, but I know remember the general story arc.
Oh, there's an actual episode called Space Pirates from 1969. That didn't help.
Yeah. Well, Davison, though, he was actually told by, I think it was Patrick Troughton, one of the second Doctor, actually told him like something like, do this for like 3 years, then leave. Because he was kind of followed that advice and was never going to go on to be long term. Like Tom Baker, nobody's played the Doctor for any longer than he did.
Did you guys like Peter Capaldi at all?
I liked him. He just got, I think he got a raw deal again, though. I think
I didn't get to see any of his.
He got some bad scripts.
I just liked how they brought back the grumpy old Doctor. I loved that. Like he was just he went, from being David Tennant, who, everybody loves David Tennant, and if you don't, we can't be friends anymore.
Have you ever watched? Did you ever watch this? Do you ever watch the series that he made his name in, The Thick of It?
Yes.
That is, yeah.
As an American, like if there's certain actors, if I see them in anything, I'll watch it. So it's led me in different directions.
Yeah. I actually I didn't see much of the new series. I saw maybe 2 seasons of David Tennant, but yeah, mostly I really didn't see any of the Doctor Who after Colin Baker.
That's because I think Sylvester McCoy was very underrated as well.
Oh,
to me, he was. To me, he was. Ace is my favorite of all the Doctor's assistants. Actually,
me too. You know what's really funny? That's the one jacket I haven't recreated yet. I will recreate her jacket, and I'm gonna recreate Bill's jacket too. But Bill's jacket.
I was at the age.
You've got a closet with like every Doctor Who costume in it.
No, but that's going to be on my bucket list now. You know what's sad? No one would flinch. If I wore something funky like that and walked around my neighborhood, they would just say hi. Like no one would flinch. I'm expected to wear funky combinations.
California, hey,
Oh, people, it's not rare to watch people wearing like shorts and long sleeves. We're weird out here.
Well, depending which neighborhood you're in, you might need long sleeves to cover your tattoos, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's real. That's the one thing about LA. It goes from like one of the most peaceful places on earth to one of the most dangerous places on earth, depending on what part of the freeway you pulled off on. But I think it's like that in any major city, though. There's certain neighborhoods that people just don't go in because it's rough.
Yeah, those are generally the neighborhoods I've lived in. Just because that's generally the most I could afford.
When I lived in Oregon, there was this place they called Felony Flats, and it wasn't that bad. It was just a bunch of hardworking people who had a bad run at life. I didn't find it bad at all living in that area.
Well, and that's why I found like most of the neighborhoods especially like, South Minneapolis, there were neighborhoods that a lot of people said that, they just didn't feel safe there. And it's like, yeah, I may have been the only white guy on the block, but I never felt threatened by the neighbors.
You know what? And that's another thing. I stick out. My speech is different than other people, and people rarely discriminated against me when I lived like in the heart of LA, or I lived like but I speak Spanish, so it's a little bit different. But like, people were nice to me and they were kind to me. When I was told, like, I lived in MacArthur Park, and I was told, like, don't go to that neighborhood, it's dangerous. So they would start partying on Friday night, and they wouldn't stop until Sunday, until church started. Every weekend, they would feed me for free. And I was really poor back then. So they'd go out of their way. Like, it was the greatest thing living in a neighborhood where people cared. They'd have these giant parties outside every weekend. And I'd show up and eat some good food, and I met some really good people. But they'd always say, oh, it's a bad neighborhood, but it's not. I don't know. To me, it wasn't.
Well, I do have to admit, the one thing that I worried about was, like having my car broken into, because, having my tools in the car or that.
So I lived in a place called Stockton, California, when I worked at a factory. And they would boast about how they were the car thief capital of California, and they were not kidding. I would come to my car. I had my window broke at least 6 or 7 times just because people were bored.
Yeah. Well, and, my brother, just because his van was marked as being a renovation firm, working in Chicago several times, he did have stuff stolen out of his work van.
That's the worst. That is, I don't think people realize. Well, people do. Tools are worth a lot of money. I would be so mad if my tools. I would be up Schitt's Creek if my tools disappeared.
Yeah.
Like my paint gun. When I go out with my paint gun, I tether it to my truck depending on what I'm doing. So if you were to like try to grab it, you'd really have to work for it.
Well, and again, it's something else that, like computers, the price of power tools has really come down over the years.
Yeah, true.
But like there are tools that I can buy now for like $30 that before 2000 would have cost me $150.
That's so true. Do you know the one thing, at least here in California, paint the 5-gallon buckets went from $60 to $130, almost $140. I don't know how the paint industry or painters are surviving right now. I don't. Because they doubled the cost of paint, so, and that gets translated to your customers where you have to charge them triple because you have to make your money back,
I haven't seen those kind of radical increases here. And actually, the home improvement places like Home Depot and that are doing pretty well, because a lot of people, since they can't be working the regular jobs and had to be locked at home, have been spending the time fixing up their houses.
The paint companies would probably make a killing if they just sold empty paint tins with the words tartan paint on it.
It's we as someone who like does contracting, I'm being priced out of my own industry. But the thing is, like, what I do is I help people with special needs, and so I take a lot of the hit on certain jobs.
Yeah, it's one of the problems my fiance and I had, that I do the home renovations, and she was doing grant writing for charities mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the problems we had, was that we were usually working for people who made less than we did.
Yeah.
So it's like you feel bad about charging them full price.
It's so funny you would say that.
But I did a lot of that stuff that I was like, building the handicap access ramps for places who were setting up counseling centers in old houses.
That's part of what I do. And I also, I make bathrooms accessible for people like with cerebral palsy and MS, We put handrails, or we'll install bathtubs that you can open the door, where you can actually sit in the tub. Those are cool. I want one. Those are actually really cool because it's just a giant spa that you put in your house.
Yeah, I would like that.
Oh, they're awesome.
I've used them. A friend of mine had one.
I think they're cool. But
that's one of the things I miss with this apartment is I don't have a tub. All I've got is a tiny little shower stall that's like, less than 3 foot by 5 foot.
I have a tub, but I'm like this much too big for my tub.
What's that, Jeff?
I was going to say, Purple, was what you said a minute ago. Like, my grandfather, if he'd ever been sort of business minded or whatever, would have probably made a killing doing like gardening work for people. He was really, really good at it. Which is, because it's just something. It was just something he did as odd jobs for people after he got laid off from his job, and had sort of retire early. So he just had to do. But he was so good, and I was like, you could have made a killing out of this. But most of the people he worked for were in similar situations that were like they were way worse off than him, or generally he was doing it for people who either had disabilities or were quite old and couldn't do go out there and do that stuff themselves anymore. And he's like, how can I go and charge them like 300 quid for like 30 quid's worth of work? I can't do that.
I recently ran into that. I painted a house, and the person flat out couldn't afford the last payment, and I told him, don't worry about it. Like, job's done, don't worry about it. And they were like, oh, so grateful. But I felt bad because, like you said, like I have more money than they do, so it was no skin off my back.
Yeah, I also wound up doing a lot of work for barter. I got like 6 vehicles for, bartering home repairs for them.
Whoa. So you're doing, that's like, if someone's giving you their car, you're doing major work.
Yeah, well, that was, like bathroom renovations and that. I mean, they weren't great cars either. They were all, things that would have sold for like under $1,000. But, it's like when I needed a vehicle, that was the most expedient way to get something.
I know what you're saying.
Car repairs are not really my forte. I can do more of it than most people can, but yeah, I really don't know. I can't diagnose cars. If I know what's wrong, I can swap out components, but I don't know how to diagnose the problem.
My problem is with the newer vehicles, it's all the computers and all the things that are in the way.
Oh yeah.
Like I opened the hood to my Ford Flex, it's just a bunch of boxes. But to my 88 F-150, you could blindfold me and I could take that thing apart and put it back together. Yeah, the newer cars, they should just replace everything. And when any sensor goes wrong, it should just wipe out the whole dash display and just flash you're screwed. Yeah. It's so, when I bought...
They're not made to be repaired. You're just supposed to throw the car away and go buy a new one every 3 years.
It's so funny you'd say that. As someone who grew up around car guys and like I know cars, these new cars are not made for people to fix on. They're not made for you to even touch. You have to take them to someone who knows really what they're doing, or has the equipment.
I had a Chevy Venture van, and this was the manufacturer's recommended procedure for changing the spark plugs. To get to the rear 3 spark plugs, the manufacturer told you to remove 2 of the engine mounts and tilt the engine forward.
Oh,
because there was no fucking way you were going to get a wrench onto those spark plugs the way it was sitting in there.
That's...
and that's just a tune-up. That's routine maintenance that's supposed to be done every year.
Do you know Ford did that for a while? In some of the F-150s, half of the engine is under the cab. So you have to pull the engine out just to work on it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
so
get that.
clearly they did not expect anyone to actually try to maintain these things.
Damn right. I'll never understand. I feel the same way. I'll never understand that. As you can tell, I'm the king of
Yeah.
DIY, of do it yourself.
Well,
So
you know,
if I can do it myself, I try to.
yeah, it's just where the whole American ideal has gone, that, you know, we've gone from the do-it-yourself, being self-sufficient, to just, yeah, if something goes wrong, you're just supposed to throw it out and buy a new one.
I don't get that. I don't understand that. But with that being said,
I get it. I get it entirely. I totally do.
I've made a ton of money off of fixing things and refurbishing things. So I hope
Oh,
people
yeah.
keep throwing things out, because I've made a ton of money refurbishing. Even like, I was having this conversation with Jen. For a while, I was reselling old furniture because the new stuff is made poorly.
Yep.
I'd
Well,
go to Goodwill,
it
buy an oak desk, and then resell it for $150 when I paid $20 for it, you know?
yeah, one of my
Yes.
sidelines was, you know, refurbishing stuff that people were tossing, or, you know, just salvaging stuff just for the materials, and like
Exactly.
building furniture out of salvage stuff. When I lived in New York, I joked that my main source of lumber was discarded IKEA bed frames.
They are such junk. I'm trying
Well,
to be
not
nice.
the stuff that was the press board, but the stuff that was like the futon frames that were at least,
Okay.
you know, at least like 1x3 boards.
Their particle board is just depressing.
Yeah, well,
I mean, they're not stupid nowadays. They know it's more money to be built selling stuff that is not built to last.
Exactly. Exactly. Like
Yeah,
this desk that I'm
greedy, but they'll still charge a fortune. The greedy capitalist scum fucks that they are. But you know,
that's like my mom almost 10 years ago, she bought my son a bed, and it just broke last 2 or 3 weeks ago, and my neighbor actually had one and gave me the exact same bed. And I remember asking my mom, I said, how much did you pay for that? She paid $900 for a twin bed, and I was like, that's insane. Just because it was a captain's bed, whatever that is.
Well, that basically just means it had storage underneath it.
Yeah, you know, and so because of that, it was worth $900. I basically had to reinforce the entire thing.
Yeah, Nerdy's got it right here. Planned obsolescence because of rampant capitalism.
Yeah, I did that. I mean, I actually had to do that last bed I had, right? I actually had to, because it was one of those things that had boards underneath or whatever. I had to replace all the fucking boards with myself, because it was so fucking crap that it couldn't support the weight of a human being.
Same thing with my son.
Now, I might be overweight, but I'm not that fucking overweight.
No, my son's bed was the same way,
Yeah.
and I had to get a plank of wood to put underneath it.
Yeah, in 2005, when my ex pushed me out of the house, you know, basically I wound up having nothing. So the apartment I had after that, I furnished the entire apartment with stuff I built out of what I found in the alleys.
Heck yeah.
You know,
Right.
I did not buy a single piece of furniture. I built everything out of stuff that other people had thrown away.
When I was in my 20s, a good friend of mine who was actually from Utah, we had this apartment, and we had this old crappy truck. And I remember he told me, he's like, dude, we're in LA. We don't need to go furniture shopping. People put their old furniture on the street and people come and pick it up. I got a leather couch. I got a legit real leather couch. I actually miss that couch.
Oh yeah. And when I lived in New York, we lived in Syracuse, which was, you know, basically a town for a college prep school more than anything else. So yeah, when they went home at the end of the semester in June, there was all sorts of shit. I mean, there were huge piles. We even had a scavengers network that we were calling other people on the cell phone, because we knew okay, this guy was collecting scrap metal, and they'd call me if they found lumber somewhere.
So when I lived in Oregon, there was this guy who lived in my apartment complex, and I'd always ask him, how do you get all these nice jackets and pants and everything? He worked at a resort, and people would come from around the world to go to this resort in Oregon out in the middle of the woods. And people were so rich, they would buy snowboards, they'd buy the gear and leave it in the hotel when they left. And all the employees, like, they were playing paper, rock, scissors who got to keep the stuff, you know? And snowboards are not cheap. Snowboard pants, I still have a pair of pants that he gave me.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what a womble is.
Oh,
Nerdy calling me there.
sorry, damn it. I put it in the chat as well. That's a British children's TV program.
Ah,
It's a.
oh yeah, I see. There are
I put the
wombles.
lyrics in it. Underground, overground, wombling free. The Wombles of Wimbledon, common are we? Yeah, that's my era when I was like a little kid. That stuff. So
Okay. Yeah, another thing I was making money on was like a lot of times I'd find like vacuum cleaners that people were tossing out, and it's like that wasn't even seriously refurbishing. Most of the time it was just, you know, getting them and cleaning them up. It's like it's almost like people didn't realize that these things could be emptied.
Are you talking about, like, especially the old bag ones?
No, no, I mean
The new ones too?
yeah, the new cyclone type ones,
Oh,
you know, and it's like
Wow.
yeah, most of the time it's you know, a lot of times it'd like be like the beater brush wouldn't turn and you know, stuff like that. And it's like usually it's like a new belt on the beater brush and clean all the pet hair out of it, and it was fine.
Exactly.
You know, and then
it's-
I could
it's,
turn around and these were ones that were selling in the stores for like $100, so I could sell them used for 50.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
Nerdy added the next thing to the lyrics there. But actually, to give you, I should have actually given you a bit of context about the Wombles. They were these like weird little creatures that lived on Wimbledon Common, but they would sort of pick up and make use of like junk that people dropped, kind of thing. You know.
Okay, I'll have to check it out
So
later.
that's kind of what they did.
If you start singing Sesame Street, I might cry, so be careful.
Uh,
Well, when I
I-
try to
oh,
type
she
it
did-
into Google, the first thing that comes up is that's a pop group.
I get nostalgic. Like, I have like 30 or 40 of the original SmackDowns. I have a bunch of Raw, like old WWF on VHS.
oh boy, word, yeah.
So when I put it on, I get nostalgic. And the other day I put on it was like SummerSlam or something, but it was like Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty were dancing, and I'm like, I'm
Oh,
old. It just made me feel
I know, it's scary.
because I remember when that was brand new to me, you know.
Scary thing is if you look back a lot of that now, how many of the fucking wrestlers are dead?
Okay, so fun godless sewing trivia. I went to the WrestleMania that was in Los Angeles. I think it was the year 2000 or 1999. It was one of them. And I was walking around with my brother, and on my program, guess which was the only wrestler I got to sign my my program? Take a wild guess.
Right, I'm trying to think.
And it's not
Wednesday,
his story ended horribly.
Ultimate Warrior.
Chris Benoit.
Oh Christ! Yeah.
You know why? Because I met Triple H in 1997. He was a complete asshole. So I stayed away from that whole crowd. Shawn Michaels was nice, but he didn't sign my thing. Everybody else was they were all really nice, but it was a busy thing. I walked up to Benoit. He talked to me for almost a half an hour.
Yeah, it's obviously knowing how that story ended.
Yeah. He was the
You know.
nicest guy, and I hate telling this story because he was a total scumbag, you know.
Nerdy,
But, like-
Nerdy's using British wrestling reference as their big daddy, but See, when I was a kid, when I first came across him, because I used to watch the British wrestling, like Big Daddy, all that sort of stuff, when it was on TV. But the first like, American thing, it was WWF that made an impression of me. It was the Ultimate Warrior. For me, as like an 8-year-old, he was like a superhero. And when I grew up and found what a fucking right-wing douchebag that man was.
Oh, he's a complete
I
ass.
was like, what a fucking asshole he actually was.
This actually ties in. One of the Today in History events I had marked here was on February 10th in 1989. The WWF admitted in a New Jersey court that it was not a sport but an exhibition because they were trying to gain deregulation.
Oh yeah, this was going on. Yeah, they did that because
was that when they were doing
to get out of paying taxes to the athletic commissions.
Right,
is what it was.
Was that when they got busted for steroids too? Because I remember
would have been around that era, bruh. They got I said there was a quote unquote doctor that supposedly worked for the athletic commission who was supplying steroids to all of them.
The Ultimate Warrior actually, he would come out on a combination of cocaine and steroids. If you go back and watch his old videos, like that's why he's like, like he's breathing all weird because he's all coked up and he was shooting up steroids. And
because he was.
Yeah,
that's why most of it. That's why most of his wrestling matches were about 2 or 3 minutes long because he couldn't physically go much more than that.
And everybody says that no one wanted to wrestle with him because he was kind of an asshole because he was so jacked up.
Oh, he was so jacked. There is the famous story though of Andre the Giant sort of sorting him out a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and what happened is like they had to wrestle each other every night. And there was this little thing every night. They had to take this thing where Andre had to take a clothesline from the Ultimate Warrior, and he would every night would come charging in at like 100 miles an hour and just smash him in the fucking head every goddamn night, and and till finally on one like random house show somewhere, he comes charging in, and as he does, Andre just sticks his fist out and knocks him spark the fuck out.
My brother-in-law was working security at the Minneapolis airport when Andre the Giant came in. And he said he was just one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. That the way he is in The Princess Bride, that's the way he is normally.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've heard
that's awesome.
I've heard, he could be a bit shit if you pissed him off. Yeah, you did not want to be around him if he was angry, but
he was like he really didn't want to fight because he was afraid he would hurt people.
Yeah.
Unlike Triple H, who like my brother walked up to him for an autograph and he told my brother to fuck off to his face. We were kids. We were little kids, but you know.
Hey, Robert.
Some wrestlers were complete a-holes, but it's one of those things like when
actually from back in that kind of era, I'll tell you one I met, and he was a really nice guy. I don't know if you remember, but Gangrel, do you remember him?
Oh yeah.
Vampire.
Yeah, of course. Oh yeah.
I met him, he was cool as fuck.
See, that's the thing, like I've met a lot of really cool famous people, and I've met a lot of famous people that were just complete a-holes. It depends on the person, you know. It always depends on the person.
Well, I'll tell you now that I met Jeremy Clarkson once, and he is exactly the fucking asshole in real life that you'd imagine he would be.
I've always people there are certain people like that where I would be like, wow, I would not walk up to. He's one of them.
Oh no, I didn't really. I only went up to speak to him because I actually trolled him. And I was about 19 when I did this. I maybe even 18 still. But
is it Wuhan?
Yeah.
I met Triple H and he was a complete a-hole to me. So I have a bad image of him. But like I said, I met a bunch of other people, and Chris Benoit, nicest guy on earth.
Which is fucking weird considering how that ended, but
No, I'm telling you, like, no one was at his booth. So I walked up to him. I think he was just excited that somebody cared enough. Like,
yeah.
people cared more about Perry Saturn than Chris Benoit. They cared more about other people. And like Eddie Guerrero was there, you know. They were all kind of together. That was a weird era. That whole era was a weird era.
Yeah.
And when you're a little kid and you walk up to someone and they tell you to piss off, you'll never forget that, you know? So I'm sure Triple H has been nice to a lot of people. He works with a lot of charities that I know. But when I met him, he was just a complete...
But you kind of wonder, though, that because he's obviously... he's kind of, shall we say... quite PR savvy nowadays. He probably wouldn't be like that too often because he's... Yeah.
But he's going to inherit the company if he stays with, you know, he's going to die a very rich man one day, you know.
Well, he's already a very rich, but well, yeah.
He's in the McMahon family, so he doesn't have to worry about anything.
But I can't watch it now. I tried for the longest time to sort of stick with WWE and watching that. Because I had a network subscription, and even though the fact that I was like, I got to a point where I wasn't really enjoying it anymore, the final straw for me was them doing propaganda for Saudi Arabia. That was the final straw. I'm like, no, I can't support this fucking company anymore.
Excuse me.
And to be honest, though, looking back on it, I'd probably looking back at a lot of the shit they've actually done over the years. I probably shouldn't have fucking supported them at all. But
they were big on propaganda, and they always supported the companies that are, you know, they were always there. The McMahons are part of that Republican elite. That Connecticut, like more money than the average person will ever see, you know?
Yeah.
You get a lot of that here. You know, it's weird. It's so weird. I know someone that's
I thought this was hilarious when Trump put his wife in charge of like small businesses or something in the cabinet, and it's like you put someone who actually you put someone who between her and her husband put so many small businesses out of fucking business
on purpose. You know.
Well,
deliberately as well.
All of Trump's cabinet picks. He put all sorts of people in charge of departments who specifically had agendas that were to dismantle those departments.
Vince McMahon destroyed the WCW, bought them, and then on their last episode made sure that he was the first and last person.
I would actually say WCW destroyed themselves, and more honest.
I agree.
Because I mean, they weren't exactly a small. I mean, come on, they were backed by Ted Turner for goodness' sake. So and Time Warner. So but all those other old promotions back in the day, like the AWA, CWA, World Class. And not just all the other promotions they put, but I actually know people who were like small vendors who sold merchandise and whatever, who they put out of fucking business.
I was a hardcore WWF fan, but I also watched WCW obsessively when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So when they did that crossover, it was just sad because WCW did have WWF's. They had it by the scruff.
I was a massive fan of the original ECW back in the day, but going back now, I can't watch a lot of that now.
You know what's funny? I can't watch any of it now. Like even it's a family tradition that we watch the Super Bowl. We come together. I really don't watch football at all anymore. I sat down, I looked at my mom, and I was like, I can't remember the last time I watched a football game besides last year's Super Bowl. And I kind of look at wrestling like that. I can't remember the last time I watched it. And I probably have 3 years of SmackDowns and Raw on VHS that I would tape because I had to go to work. So I would tape it when I was at work. When I was at
Last time I went to
kid, but-
Last time I went to a show was in 2016. That was ICW.
oh yeah.
And it was I think it's actually, I think ironically, I think the guy I think's one of their champions right now, in WWE, Drew McIntyre. He was like the headliner on there. But this is just after he'd been fired by them the first time, and they brought him back.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, how's it going, too, Sam?
Yes, Sam.
Hey,
Hey, I really should get off talking fucking wrestling.
I know. I'm sorry I brought it up. I'm a savant geek when it comes to certain things.
So, well, I'll just say privately, you and I, could probably geek the fuck out about that for hours. But I think we would bore the fuck out of.
Well, it sounds like
Purple's
Robert
audience,
H would
yeah.
be interested in it, but yeah, I'm already ran out of my knowledge on the subject.
Yeah,
wrestling.
wrestling. I was gonna say, but yeah.
You should, Johan. You should. Because I was there for Beer-O-Mania, and I was there for Milk-O-Mania too. Some WWF lore right there. I was really
That
into
would
it.
be Milkomania. That's Kurt Angle, wasn't it?
Oh, it's true. It's true. I even know his old saying, man. He was actually someone I met who was a cool guy. But to completely change the subject, like, to take it back to meeting people, like, I worked at a sandwich shop in Hollywood, and it makes me laugh. Like, I met Paul McCartney. He was the nicest human being I'd ever met in my life. He gave everybody $100 tip. I met Suge Knight. I met a bunch of TV stars, but it was always like the people who were trying to make something of themselves who were the complete assholes. But the people who were established were the nicest people on earth.
Yeah.
You know, I met Johnny Knoxville. He had like seriously 6 or 7 people walking behind him. I'm smoking a cigarette and he walks up to me. He's like, I don't know any of these people. And he just keeps on walking, you know, like that he was just a normal, cool guy, you know.
My ex met Prince.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
No, it wasn't. He was just such an asshole just because of the idea that he couldn't believe there was a woman who wasn't fawning over him.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
You know, he was just all like, don't you know who I am? And she's like, yeah, so. And, you know, he was totally fuming. The steam was coming out.
My favorite comeback to that is anyone says, "Do you know who I am?" My all comeback is always, "I know what you are."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told someone who was on The Real World on MTV, I told them to fuck off because they were like, "Don't you know who I am?" And I it didn't even like go past my brain. I was just like, "What?" I was like, "Fuck off." I just looked at him like, "Fuck off," you know. When people say that, I'm just like, "Who are you?" You know.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they're elevating their status.
Yeah,
They're up here, and you're down here.
that's my.
Or else it's people that really don't feel very secure about themselves, that they need constantly to other people to reaffirm that they're great.
Right.
Absolutely.
Affirmation.
But it's like it'd be some of them. It'd be like me saying, "Do you know who I am? I've got 349 subscribers on YouTube." You know, for fuck's sake, you know.
Yeah. My greatest brush with greatness is Total Geek Fodder. I got to meet Robert Bacher.
Don't know who that is.
Okay. In the first Jurassic Park movie, the guy in the wide brim hat who's talking about the raptors and the kid says they're giant turkeys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that character is based on Robert Bacher.
Oh, that's
He's a
awesome.
paleontologist who wrote a lot of theories that pretty much revised how people saw dinosaurs.
Oh, that's.
What year was that movie?
I'll be right back.
Oh, I don't remember when the first one came out.
I think 94. Don't quote me. I think.
Yeah, it was mid-90s.
Oh, I'm pretty much. I don't know. Those Jurassic Park movies are are like a haze to me. I don't remember them very
Well,
well.
I don't remember them
Didn't
individually. They
it-
kind of all blur together to me.
Yeah.
Didn't it come out 65 million years ago? Sorry, I'm
You
being
could say
stupid now,
that.
but I'm being stupid now. But
That was good.
Wasn't that one of their trailers, though, was something like 65 million years in the making?
I think it was actually, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the.
I mean, to be fair, they to them, they were. I mean, apart from one or two, obvious creative license kind of thing, they did try to be relatively sort of scientifically accurate with the dinosaurs, and then obviously a couple of years later, it was discovered that dinosaurs had feathers, which threw the whole fucking thing out, you know.
According to Google, the first one came out in June of '93.
Yeah.
93. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That
well,
sounds about
and that
right.
was the thing, that they were trying to make them scientifically accurate for the time. And that just
Yeah.
shows how much our knowledge about dinosaurs has changed in the past 25 years.
So are we gonna have to change every movie and add feathers to what we now know dinosaurs look like?
Well, they do have an in-universe explanation of that. It's kind of a throwaway line in one movie, that they admit that they're not really dinosaurs, that since they're genetically engineered creatures and they used amphibian DNA, that's why they don't have feathers.
I mean, that's a good techno babble.
That's good.
It
little out.
was a good cover for it, since they
That's
were
a-
already committed to these.
You sold me instantly.
I mean, let's be honest. To anyone who does not know what the fuck what they're talking, does not know what they're talking about when it actually comes to stuff like that, that's going to sound like a plausible explanation.
That's
except
what
to someone who actually understands this shit, you know.
that's why techno babble is amazing. Like,
Well,
it's
that's by the time they got to Jurassic World, they had to admit that they were making up creatures that never existed.
but they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're awesome looking and scary. They're awesome though.
Yeah, that
Yeah, well,
Indominus Rex, though, was a little...
Indominus fucking Rex. That was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was so bad, I don't even want the fucking toy. Unfortunately, in the Lego set, it comes in the only set that I can get an ankylosaur.
You know what's really funny? I judge a movie that it's so bad I won't buy it. Like I didn't buy the last Star Wars. That's how
But
bad
the thing I didn't get more about Jurassic World was more the fact that that they still open this goddamn park to visitors after all the shit that had happened with the original fucking parks.
I wouldn't go.
You know.
Oh, but you know, thousands of people would still go to it, even if they knew that people had been killed in the first one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obviously because obviously it's got a theme from another sort of Michael Crichton kind of thing, which is obviously Westworld, isn't it? Very similar theme to Jurassic Park. The theme park, you know, the whole thing of the theme park, that's really amazingly interactive, but then gets to the point where it gets so interactive, people start getting killed.
Yeah, first there's the ooh, ah, and later there's the screaming and dying. Yeah,
I love it. That's
unfortunately, it's like Michael Crichton comes up with some really great concepts, but he can't write an ending to save his life.
I was just about to say I read quite a few Michael Crichton books when I was a kid. They don't end well. They
all
don't
the way
end
back to Andromeda Strain, it's like, okay, we've got a killer virus from another planet that's wiping out everything in its path, and it's destroyed by the rain.
That's a good
Well,
book,
this is generally why when writing you want to like think of what your ending is near the beginning of what your actually your project, really, because it's like where are you going to get to?
Yeah, well, that's the way I write. I usually have an ending in mind, and I wind up writing a bunch of random scenes and then trying to figure out how you're going to string them all together.
Yeah, you can think of the beginning and the end first, and then you can kind of fill out the middle later, you know?
Yeah, I tend to write backwards. I don't tend to come up with the beginning until I've got about 3 or 4 chapters already done.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with Mage Grey Wolf about Rise of the Skywalker was like watching the cutscenes to a video game without the context of the gameplay.
I gave up on Star Wars before that. I haven't watched most of the recent ones.
That's how I judge. It's so bad, and like I asked my son because I got my son really into Star Wars, where I got him to watch all the movies in order, and I asked him, I'm like, "Do you want me to buy? What was the last movie? Was it The Last Jedi?" And he was like, "No, you don't have to buy."
Rise of Skywalker was the last movie.
Okay, that's the one he didn't want. That was the one.
I might. The only thing I can sort of say about it, to its credit, is it did about as good a job as it could have been of trying to recover from all the fuck ups in The Last Jedi. But that still doesn't necessarily mean it was a great movie.
Yeah, I couldn't get into it, and I was like waiting for Star Wars. I get goosebumps when the music started. I love Star Wars, and the last movie.
I think the thing is that really the fact that they kept changing visions of what this thing was going to be for that Disney trilogy, and it was. Well, it's really they should have just given it to that one guy in the beginning and let him have the vision for the entire thing. It might have turned out a lot better.
But what do you think about the newer Star Trek movies? Because they're kind of long.
The
Abrams?
Yeah, with the god damn,
Chris Pine.
Yeah. I like them. I
loved those movies, and I'm a geek Trekkie.
And I think the fact that, in a sense, that they're presenting this as kind of an alternative timeline kind of thing.
Did you see any of those movies, Geo Sam? Have you seen any of those?
No. But I know who you're talking about because he's like the guy who's playing Captain Kirk, who's playing Kirk in the Yeah, I know that actor, and I've seen like what are they called? What call them? Previews, I guess.
Mm-hmm. They're not awful. I liked them.
They're quite good. I mean, Zachary Quinto is really good as Spock, actually. I think. And
yeah, I think you're right. It adds another alternative, like kind of universe to it.
I definitely think I got the other one. Other standout was Simon Pegg as Mr. Scott.
Absolutely,
who's got to stand out in that.
Those were good movies, and even right now, like CBS is coming out with new shows, and they're okay. I actually really liked.
I think thank you. I was about to say because I mean I'm not a massive big Star Trek kind of guy. I quite like Discovery though, and I know a lot of Star Trek purists fucking hate Discovery. But
see, that's the problem. I'm okay with change. I'm okay if something I'm into changes, because nothing stays the same.
But maybe because it was different from a lot of the previous Star Trek is why I liked it.
Yeah, but how many people lost it when the Doctor became a woman? I watched videos on YouTube of grown men having meltdowns. Grown men having full meltdowns.
Yeah. Well, way back to Tom Baker, I was asking, why did the Doctor always have to come back as human? Why didn't they try making him an alien at some point?
Oh, that would be awesome. From a different planet.
Yeah.
But no, they got to bring him back as a Dalek one day now.
They probably will now that you said it. Oh, that's funny.
But I remember the big uproar. You said about Discovery. I remember the big uproar because of the fact that there was an F-bomb dropped in Discovery.
Oh, and Picard too. People lost it when the Admiral kind of told Picard.
But I loved it. The fact that like the first F-bomb in Star Trek history is probably come from one of the sweetest, nicest characters in the history of Star Trek, which is Tilly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
She's like she's just like the sweetest, nicest person. In a lot of ways, she's kind of the heart and soul of that show in some ways, you know. But,
you know what? I don't want to give it away too much, but even in season 3, she's amazing. From the second episode on, she is amazing.
I've not quite got to the end of season 3, but I've watched a bit of it, and I have seen the growth of her character, and now she's kind of coming out of her shell a bit, you know.
Absolutely. Season 3, she really comes into it. But she's a fan favorite, so they put her on screen more. You know, because she's definitely a fan favorite. But the problem is they put all of this.
The only thing I wish would have been done a bit differently, but they kind of, I suppose, did it a little bit with Giorgio's character arc, I suppose. But I just maybe wish they'd been able to get Jason Isaacs on for a few seasons, because
Lorca was amazing.
Lorca was such an amazing. But I would have liked. I mean, I would have even liked the kind of reveal, but if they'd have managed to get him for 2 or 3 seasons as the captain, and then done that fucking reveal, would have been so epic.
Have you seen what he did on Twitter? He's wearing the captain's uniform. He's holding a Dobby and an Oscar.
Yeah.
And like he basically is trying to be brought back into the show, which they could if they really wanted to.
They could actually, because we don't know what happened to the Prime Universe.
That's what he's saying.
Do we?
That's what he's saying.
Because we got the mirror, but I actually think they could have done. I mean, maybe if they, I think they could have. If they could have kept him for like 2 or 3 series as the captain, would have been epic.
So let me ask you a question, Purple. Do you watch? Do you have CBS All Access?
I really don't watch TV at all anymore, apart from when I'm upstairs, having dinner with Sloth Girl.
It's a pay service, and then
I know what it is, but I've never watched it.
The only reason I bought it is because they have Star Trek on it, and Star Trek fans are suckers.
Yeah,
I'm totally admitting it. Like Trekkies, you could put anything. You could put Star Trek on toilet paper. We'd go and buy it.
Oh yeah.
Trekkies are savants when it comes to and honestly, sometimes I don't think it's worth it. For as much as I'm sitting here promoting it, they won't let me switch devices, so I have to watch it on my phone, and they want to charge me each device I use it on.
Yeah, well, that was the whole thing, that, they know there are certain franchises, and Star Wars and Star Trek are the biggest ones, that they know there's a huge fan base that will pay for anything that has the name on it, no matter how bad it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what? Transformers are like that, too. Otherwise, they never would have got away with Michael Bay making so many movies.
Sure, it's a franchise. It's a franchise.
Mage Grey Wolf and I could have a debate about that. Picard did break my heart. Mage Grey Wolf said Discovery and Picard did put Trek on toilet paper.
Well, you know why the Enterprise is like toilet paper? It circles Uranus looking for Klingons.
The problem, and I had this gripe when it first started, is they're putting everything behind paywalls. So there's all these great shows that are behind paywalls, God, there's something else. I'm thinking about getting HBO now because there's a show I want to watch on HBO. There's all these different things to pay for. And in the end, you end up paying as much as you would as if you had cable. If you lined all these services up together,
Yep. Well, that's the problem now, that, they're trying to make you pay for channels individually at $5 to $10 per channel. And it's like, that gets expensive really fast.
It's insane. I even, because I watch a lot of hockey. So I have the hockey package, and it's insane how much money I spend to watch, people playing hockey in Ottawa on a Tuesday.
Yeah, Sloth Girl's got Disney Plus, but that's only because they rolled it into a package with her Amazon Prime. So she wound up only paying like $3 a month for it.
That's like with the hockey package. I got it like 5 years ago, but they've worked it into my bill, and they keep on giving me these huge price breaks, and I'm like, oh, just keep going, keep charging me for it.
You watch hockey?
Obsessively.
Oh wow.
The only reason I have it on right now is so I can pay attention. It's one of those things where it's gonna sound weird, but hockey's kind of soothing. Like, have you ever played hockey on ice? It's
There's
so
nothing more relaxing than watching somebody getting their teeth broken out with a club.
maybe I'm just a violent person.
I played
Right.
hockey. I played hockey, like field hockey and hockey indoors, like in the gym.
Yeah.
Not ice hockey. So.
Yeah, I
I've
never
played-
learned to ice skate, but
I've field hockey, which is allegedly a non-contact sport. And to put this in context, I used to play rugby a lot, and I think I got more injuries playing field hockey. So bugger doing it on ice.
I had a good friend when I was a kid. His mom was a hockey mom, and like they would take me to the rink, and eventually one day I got on the ice and I fell in love. And as an adult, like I love watching hockey still to this day.
there's an old story that, when all the stuff was coming out about football being too violent, that they were discussing it in Notre Dame and considering that should they, phase out football and get a hockey team instead. And the president of the college said that they would have no part in any sport that put a club in the hands of an Irishman.
Oh,
Ouch. And now Notre Dame has a hockey team because I watch them. Oh, that's funny.
Well, I learned to ice skate, but I don't think I haven't ice skated in 20 plus years. So
I play street hockey just to keep myself fit. So I'll get out there on my skate and lumber around with my hockey puck and my stick. It's still fun, and it like, as an older person, all the neighborhood kids come out. I have a bunch of hockey sticks. I got my son has rollerblades. It's a fun thing, and I can play hockey by myself too because I have a net. So it's
Yeah.
it's neat.
Well, hockey's the big thing in Minnesota, but that's basically just because we're Canada Junior.
yeah, exactly. I've been there. It's just always cold, is what it is. Hockey is one of those things. It's fun.
Yeah, we literally have lakes here that are frozen over 4 or 5 months out of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
From sometime in November until March, some of these lakes are frozen solid.
I know people that come from out here and go to where you live to go play hockey.
My sister was on the University of Minnesota women's hockey team when she was in college.
That's awesome. I know someone that went to Denver University and played on the team there, and they always talk about it.
guys, I'm gonna have to drop off. So,
Okay.
Yeah,
It was great talking to you as always, Jeff.
Yeah,
yeah.
the rest of your day goes good.
See you, Jeff.
Yeah, maybe doing a little Twitter, like one of my Twitter related streams tomorrow, afternoon UK time. So that's what I'm guessing it's be about 10:30 Eastern or something. But I'm thinking I'm gonna have a look through Marjorie Taylor Greene's, I think, and see what stupid there is there.
Good luck with that.
Well,
I've done.
I bet she's a gold mine.
Yeah,
I
thus
cannot
far
believe
I've
that
done.
woman is allowed to stay in office.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thus far I've done Greg Locke, Kevin Sorbo, the Transformed Wife. So
Yeah.
I know them all. Yeah.
But I just
interesting Twitter accounts. Let's put it that way.
For all the bullshit scandals that we've lost actually qualified people in politics for, how is it that they just let her run?
I agree. Still
Anyway, I better jump off, guys.
Yep.
I'll see you later. Bye.
See you, Jeff.
Yep. Bye-bye.
later on.
Oh.
Well,
So, Sam, what's going on with you lately?
Not much. Just hanging out and shooting the breeze. I don't know.
Shooting the breeze. What are you 75 today over there in Arizona? Since we basically have the same weather.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. I mean, I'm in a t-shirt and shorts and sandals. You know,
I was trying to show off earlier, but the sun was so bright it was washing me out.
yeah, it's not bad here. It's a little overcast, but it's good.
That means the clouds are either coming or going this way.
Yeah, the clouds are going over. Yeah.
Yeah, it's either you get our weather or we get your weather. It's one way or the other.
So
I feel bad talking about the weather though, because the rest of the country is like, it's freezing everywhere else.
oh,
yeah,
pretty
actually, in
much.
Florida, they're having a problem that firewood has become scarce because people there aren't used to running their heaters.
Oh wow! Even I have firewood.
Why? Oh. Well, we have a fire pit there's a fire pit in the yard. It has a wall lined brick wall around it, and we can build fires, but it's like it's like Arizona. It's like 120 degrees. It's like,
I miss having a backyard fire pit. It's a problem with an apartment. I don't have a backyard.
I have a couple. I have a chimenea because
I know. Those are
those
nice.
things. Oh, they're awesome. They're awesome.
Yeah. When I lived in St. Paul, I used to just hold weekly fire socials at the fire pits in Como Park. Just something I'd put online for whoever wanted to show up. And those were fun. Always got some interesting people there.
You got me thinking, like, I miss a lot of the habits I had pre-COVID. I didn't even realize a lot of this stuff, just a lot of the little, like, shopping habits, the stores I used to go to when my son was at school.
Yeah, well, just in one section of Como Park there, they've got 3 concrete fire pits that are like 8 feet in diameter. So you could get a good blaze going in there without, any real risk of setting anything else on fire.
I have to respond to Robert X.
Well, I work from home. I've worked from home for the past 10 years, so nothing, has changed except for the store thing, going to the store. So it's not, I have to wear a mask and all that junk.
Yeah, for me, it hasn't really been a huge adjustment because I generally wasn't that social. And most of all, because I just moved here, I hadn't had a chance to get to know anyone here or find out what was going on here. So as being an extension to how I was living in Michigan, it wasn't really any change. I had been planning on a lot of things changing after I moved, but there wasn't a chance for that yet. There's a couple of hobby groups here in Minnesota that I was planning to get back in with, but of course, all of the group things are postponed until further notice.
I used to go to a Tuesday swap meet, and it was cool because me and this one guy, we'd always be like, "Oh, playing hooky today," and I'd be like, "Oh, heck yeah, I'm playing hooky today." It's just just little habits like that. I miss going to certain like fabric stores, and a lot of these companies have closed, and they're never coming back.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of hobbies, but I find that now it's all online. It used to be
exactly.
It used to be all in person.
Yeah.
I used to go to miniature groups when I lived in Queens in New York. There were groups who collected miniatures, and they had shows, and they would send me flyers every month, and I'd know where the shows were, and I could go there. Nothing now.
Yeah, well, that's like when I had been living in Minnesota back in the early 2000s, even that there was a Lego group here, and there was a Transformers group and a wargaming group that I was founding member of both of those groups.
Because
the wargaming group we actually started in 1982 in my sister's basement and up until the pandemic started, was still meeting weekly at a local gaming store in St. Paul.
Wow, that's 39 years.
Yep,
30,
and as far
wow.
as I know, still has 3 or 4 of the original members.
Wow, that's rare. That's rare.
That's like the D&D club I used to belong to. That the founding member passed away, and they just stopped doing it. So,
Well, and like the Con of the North gaming convention, which should have been this month. I'm not. I think this would have been the 29th year, but I was also, I helped with the first 5 years of that, so was really looking forward to getting back into that. And the cool thing about that is, now that it's been going close to 30 years, now it's largely being run by the kids of the people who originally started it.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh,
so yeah, it's being passed down to the next generation, and it's still going strong.
To answer Jelly Duck, you just missed it. I was wearing my my flannel. It is Grunge Day. That's another way for Flannel Day.
oh, I was wearing a flannel earlier.
Well,
But
welcome, Jelly Duck, this new person in here.
I took the flannel off because it was too hot.
Exactly. I'm starting to get warm in here just with that one extra layer on.
But it was a cutoff. It has no sleeves. It was anyway.
Well, I have a quilted flannel shirt hanging here next to my jacket if I need it. But one of the things with this apartment building is I've never turned my thermostat on.
Oh, wow.
And without ever turning the heat on, even with it being below 0 for the last 3 days in a row, the temperature in here has never gotten below 66 degrees.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just the heat I get from the adjoining apartments.
As a Californian, I have no real concept of that. Like I do because I've been places where it's below. Like I've been to Chicago during the winter, and I felt the wind ripping through 4 coats.
Well, Sloth Girl had a good quip on it last night. She was saying Minnesota, where the outside is colder than your freezer.
So true. So consistently colder than your freezer.
Yeah. Well, and this is actually just a bit late in the year. This is the weather we would expect in like the first half of January. So a month ago, this would have been normal.
So is your weather, would you say your weather's changing then?
Oh, yeah. We're definitely getting less snow than we had, like 20 years ago. And yeah, everything does seem to be shifting later in the season. That the first snow is coming later and the spring is coming later.
Hey, I'll be right back. Give me a second, okay? I got to get some water.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's what's happening around here. Our seasons are they're changing and they're moving.
Yeah.
So we're having longer summers, less winter, more rain.
We're finding like October is warmer than it used to be and April is colder than it used to be.
That's another thing. We're getting rain here where it never rained here.
Well, and I'm actually kind of concerned. I mean, I was joking about us not having a storm that dumped a foot of snow, but the amount of snow we got this year is really pitiful. And it's like, yeah, people are saying it's great that they didn't have to shovel much in that, but that means we're not going to have the spring thaw. And that means that the aquifers are going to be low all summer.
Oh, yeah.
People are going to have trouble because there isn't going to be the groundwater. And, when they start pumping the groundwater up to be, irrigating the fields, that's going to cause a problem for people here.
Yet another thing to look forward to for the summer.
Yeah, so unless we get a really rainy spring, it's going to be an issue.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, most people, don't link things that far ahead.
It's like that. We get our water from Northern California, so if it doesn't snow up there, we don't get water. We don't get any water. You know.
Well, yeah, I know that's why you had 4 or 5 years of drought in a row because there wasn't enough snow in the mountains.
Well, that, and there's this company called Nestle.
Yeah.
That was allowed to come in and literally put a pipeline that was, so our lifeline was sold to them.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the chain, it was sold to them. Then they dammed the water.
Yeah, and since Nestle got so much flack about that, then they moved and they set up a bottled watering plant in Michigan, and they're sucking it out Lake Michigan now instead.
Yeah, there's such, nothing.
And the thing that really sucks is that, they're sucking the water out of Lake Michigan to sell the bottled water to Flint, Michigan, because their tap water is undrinkable.
They did the same thing to us. They stole our water and then sold it back to us. I will never understand that. That is so gangster. It's not even funny.
How is that not profiteering? Which is a federal crime.
They did it. The people in California were like on their roofs jumping, waiting for people to listen to us. Like Nestle ripped LA off. They cut off, there's like what? And, the water feeds all the way down to San Diego County. That's like 20, I'm over exaggerating the numbers, but there's just 10 million people in LA County. So that's millions and millions and millions of people they're cutting the water off to. They allowed Nestle to do it too.
It goes down even further than that because, that same river is what Phoenix, Arizona depends on.
Yep. It's I just don't understand how
Phoenix is literally a city in the middle of the desert. It does not exist if it doesn't get enough water from that river.
When I was a kid, I lived in Mesa, and you don't realize how much you're out in the middle of the desert until one day I just walked out of my neighborhood. You walk half a mile, you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Or quite literally, it's you and the rattlesnakes and the lizards, That's part of the problem, though. It became political because they sold our water to Nestle. Yeah, and I'm like, Hot Pockets are not that cool. Like, they're not that cool. I'm over it. They stole our water so they can make Hot Pockets and bottle it and sell it back to us. And so they did the same thing in Tennessee, I want to say. You're saying they're doing it in Michigan right now.
Yep.
I don't know how they're basically going around America and tapping our water sources and selling it back to us.
We have the crappiest water in Arizona. It's terrible.
I was just saying, I lived in Mesa when I was in my early 20s. I went to ASU, and when I was a teenager, I went to ASU.
Yeah.
But they have terrible water out there.
Our tap water here is pretty good, but that's, mostly here it comes from a lot of different small lakes.
Well, I have filters on the dispenser on the refrigerator. There's a water dispenser has a filter.
I've got a Brita tank in the kitchen that, if I'm just drinking bottled water, that, I don't buy the bottled water. So if I'm just drinking water, I use that to take some of the minerals out. Otherwise, it's kind of high in the calcium and iron.
Yeah. Well, it's filtered through the refrigerator, and then I fill up a Brita container for other usage for like cooking and coffee and tea.
Yeah, I don't bother putting one on the faucet because for most of the stuff, it doesn't matter. It's basically only when I'm drinking the water or making iced tea.
Like if I'm gonna consume it, I just use what I have in the refrigerator that was taken from the filter.
Yeah.
Filtered water. So it's like twice filtered. Anyway.
Mage Grey Wolf had a great point. At least you can't set your water on fire. I thought that was so insane when people were doing that.
I was waiting for that to come up. Yeah. That actually started in Colorado. But after they were fracking there, they were finding that the tap water became flammable. And I actually saw a video of that of somebody holding a cigarette lighter when they let the water tap run.
Yeah, me too. I've
seen
a video of that.
Let's see.
Holy shit! How can you people say that what you're doing is not affecting the ecology?
But that's the problem. Our entire infrastructure has fallen apart. It has.
Let's
You
see.
know, from water to.
No, I'm good.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm good.
I would have been really unimpressed if you set your eyebrows on fire right now.
I did that once.
That would have been nice, yeah.
When I was a teenager, I couldn't find any lighter fluid, so I tried to light a barbecue grill with kerosene, and it was one of those, you know, rectangular ones that the front opened instead of the top.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So yeah, when I dropped the match in, it just right out the front. Yeah, I had no eyebrows for a couple of weeks.
Well, I think things.
Oh, your mic.
Sam, you muted yourself there.
Yeah, I don't know how I did that. All I did was
It was like a magic trick. You waved your hand and you muted yourself.
yeah.
I don't know. My computer keeps deciding my microphone's unplugged.
Yikes. Yikes.
Hey,
So I got to get the new computer up and running, but it's kind of like that's wound up getting put off by the fact that I need to clear a space to actually be able to work on it in a clean area.
I know I've been cleaning in here because I'm moving all my stuff to make more space for my sewing machine because I'm making bigger things. And I realized how much of a mess and a hoarder I am. So I've been cleaning in here for the past couple of days. And I pulled all my toolboxes out.
Yeah, well, basically at this point, I have to get things set up to move the computer to a new location to free up the desk it's on, because that's really the only place that would be a large enough work surface for me to do the assembly.
Totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's why if I ever won the lottery, I feel like I would just like I would buy a house, but I would need one giant room so I could put all my stuff in it. So I could have all my computers, all my toolboxes all lined up next to each other.
You'd need a warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. I showed Jen yesterday on FaceTime. I showed her all my toolboxes, and she's like, "The hell is wrong with you?" I've owned a few businesses, you know, so I still have all my tools.
Well, I had tools like crazy, and I had to get rid of all of them because I couldn't ship them all. It was too much money to ship everything from New York to Arizona. So I was like, I had to break it all down to essentials and just ship that. And
yeah, but how do you do
that was
that
my
after
big thing too, that moving from New York to Michigan, I had to, you know, get it down to everything being able to fit in one U-Haul. So
you have to disconnect yourself emotionally from everything and just start throwing shit out or getting rid of it. It's just no other way. It's just no other way.
I can do that. Like I've been selling a lot of stuff because I don't have emotional attachments to it. Because I collect a lot of stuff, but I've kind of reached that age where I'm like, why the hell do I still have a Ninja Turtle, or why do I in the box, or why do I, you know? So I've been selling a lot of stuff.
Well, toys in the box are pointless. You got to take them out and play with them.
You know, as someone who was an ex-collector, I moved all my stuff over there, but I had a bunch of Star Trek toys. I let my son take all of them out of the box.
Oh.
So I was never a collector like that. I just, you know, like I say, for me, it was always that what's the point of having toys if you're not going to play with them?
Yeah.
So, you know, I used to collect the Transformers. I still got a few of them around, mostly the Dinobots.
I still have, I have an Enterprise that's out of the box, and my son and I still play with it, and I have a board cube. I was like, where did Sam go? Good, I'll be right back. I have to go to the...
I was showing my toys, and I hit the F5 key.
Okay. So you're into the Marvel superheroes?
Well, I just started collecting them. I'm waiting for 3 more to come in the mail, and then it'll complete the Avenger
Ah,
set. So I'll have all the guys from the Avengers.
I was more
Well,
into the Marvel comics way back in the 80s. I haven't really kept up on them much since then.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
although I do like some of the current stuff, and of course, you know, Lego is doing all sorts of superhero sets now too.
Right. Well, I was into Conan, the comic book. I collected that, and that's all I collected. I had every one of them, and I had triples of almost every one of them, and I sold the whole collection when I moved and got rid of it. I kept some of them. I kept some, and I got rid of most of my comics, so I don't have that anymore.
Yeah, when you have to move over 1,000, to lighten the load.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I used to be into miniatures. I had literally tons of lead miniatures for tabletop D&D. And I had to get rid of most of them. I kept some. Had to get rid of most.
Yeah, I had a lot of the original Star Wars figures from when the first trilogy was in theaters, and Battlestar Galactica figures, and they were in my mom's attic, and no one will know up to which one of my nephews found them and cleaned that all out. But I had also done a lot of kit bashing of models, that I had the original Star Trek technical manual, and I had bought like 5 of the kits for the Enterprise, and I had kit bashed it to make every ship that appeared in the technical manual. So I had made the destroyer and the dreadnought and the tug out of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I have a lot of model kits. I have more model kits than I'll ever build in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, that's why I've stuck to Legos now, because, you know, then if I get tired of something, I can take it apart and build something else out of it.
Well, this Lego you see behind me, that's the only Lego I've ever built.
Really?
Yeah.
I've built the Avengers. I have my son was obsessed with Legos, so one year I went out and bought all the Lego City. I bought all the Lego Police ones. I have Avengers Tower. Like, my son has a ton of Legos.
Yeah, well, so far all I've got up on the shelves here is some of the Lego dinosaurs, and on the Thanksgiving weekend we built a Lego pirate ship, so that's up above my computer monitor now.
So I heard you talking about comic books when I was in the other room, because Young Sewing is watching this, and I have a ton of these. So these are this is the 90s. That's a 90s reprint.
Yep.
And this is the original from the 70s.
Yeah.
These are all the original Star Trek comic books.
Yep. The interesting thing you see there, the one from the 70s was Marvel, and the one from the 90s is DC.
Yeah, I knew you would notice that.
So they resold the license.
Yeah,
I noticed that too, because it said Star Cross on it.
These are awesome. These ones are just absolutely, the old DC ones are awesome because they they pull no punches whatsoever. Look at that artwork. That is just amazing artwork.
Mm-hmm.
How they drew the Klingon. The Klingons are still your enemy and everything.
Well, Image Comics. You ever hear of Image?
Oh, I have quite a few. I'm a collector.
They were killing it in the art department, man. Those guys inking and coloring was outrageous, and I don't know what happened to them, if they're still around or not.
Yeah, Mage, this is what's been keeping me going through the pandemic for income, is that, every year in January on the clearances at Target, I would buy up all the Lego sets at like 50-75% off, and I just put them in storage for a couple of years, and then I sell them online. And that's basically what's been my income for the last year. but that is going to be drying up because I'm running out of stock.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
Win a Toys R Us shopping spree.
And that's the problem because I sell a lot of stuff myself. There's weird windows of when you can and cannot sell stuff. And
Yeah,
when
well,
people
in this
send-
year, the stores did not stock up nearly as much as they had in previous years. The last couple of years, they've been getting less. They've been reducing the amount of stuff that would be left on clearance. But this year was really bad. There was hardly anything worth buying on clearance.
With Toys R Us, now that Geo Sam brought that up, I used to I would go to the Toys R Us clearance aisle and my son thought I was magic, but I was buying stuff half price. I miss Toys R Us in that sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said, that's what I was doing with the Legos, that I was getting the stuff, 50 to 75% off. And if I just stuck it in the closet and forget about it for 2 or 3 years, then people are willing to pay the original retail price again.
That's like the
so
Doctor.
Just for storing it for a couple of years, I get 50% profit.
That's like my Doctor Who. I'm really thinking about reselling my Doctor Who because I never opened it, and I probably never will open it. And I almost wanted to sell it to somebody who will actually enjoy it.
Yeah,
it's just collecting dust in my garage,
Well, and on the other end of that, I buy bags of Lego I find at the thrift store, and those are the ones I actually play with, and I can just, they're just random parts for me to build my own crap with.
Absolutely.
Or
Robert
else I just
Exton.
buy bulk lots on eBay. You get stuff for like $5 a pound, and you've no idea what you're getting.
One of the companies I work for, we buy pallets of clothes that way on eBay. And sometimes it's a miss, but it's so awesome when you open the pallet because you don't know what's in it.
Yep.
It could be 1,000 pairs of size 32 denim jeans, or it could be 3,000 white t-shirts. It's so much fun. I love opening up pallets. Oh, what happened? Robert X has a great idea.
Yep.
And that's another thing. Because I'm such a geek, I'll spare you. Actually, I probably won't. I have a ton of books over here as well.
Well, and for Lego, there's a site called Bricklink, which is kind of like Amazon, but it's only Lego. But it's not one store. It's a site that anyone can set up their own Lego store. So I've got a site on that, and like the stuff I find when I buy the bags from the thrift store, what a lot of people want are the minifigs. So it's a lot of times I can buy a bag of loose Lego for $5 or $10, and I can turn around and I can sell the minifigs for what I paid for the whole bag. So basically, I got a bag full of free Lego.
So at the swap meet, my son, there was a guy, I did not like the guy because he'd always sit up right by the door. And every time we went to the swap meet, my son would buy at least 5 to 10 minifigs, and it was like $15.
Yeah.
Like the guy, and I'm like, I could buy a box of Legos for $15,
well, Any of the minifig characters that have an individual name, any of them that aren't just like generic townies, usually sell for at least $3 each.
Exactly. Like, and that's another thing. Like, my son has every Avenger. He has every Batman you could possibly think of, Batgirl from the Batman movie.
And especially if you find any Star Wars ones, things like Stormtroopers, people want to build armies of those.
Oh, yeah.
So there are people who will just buy up all of those they can find.
Oh, yeah. I miss the swap meet. I miss going and buying other people's crap. I do. But, yeah. I've actually made I've made money selling like books like this too. Han Solo's Revenge. This is actually a really good book. It's
I just purchased a whole bunch of
Ray Bradbury.
Oh, classic.
I've read that one. I purchased a whole bunch of minis. Lego.
I remember
minis.
when they did a TV miniseries, The Martian Chronicles.
That's what the cover is from the
I've read that.
It looked like the artwork was from that series.
This is an off book. This is an episode that was never aired. And so this book is it's actually a rare book, but like I find these at the thrift store. I love Star Trek books. I resell them, but I also am building a collection of them too. And every time when I read them, I sell them, you know, like I'll buy 2. So, Robert X, that was a great idea. I might. I've been threatening to start an OnlyFans where I just read Star Trek books with my shirt off.
Yeah, you definitely get that.
I've been working out because I'm stuck at home too, so I'm a bit bigger than I was last year.
One of the things I'd had an idea for the next generation that, you know, I was sad I never saw them do it, was I thought what would have been a great scene would be to have one of the Ferengi trying to negotiate a deal with the grandson of Harry Mudd.
Absolutely. In Discovery, the Harry Mudd that, you know, they bring the character back, and he's kind of a conniving, scary dude.
Oh, I didn't know he showed up in that.
Oh, in Discovery, it's awesome. And the actor they got to play Harry Mudd is just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
He was a good character, you know, just because you knew he was really quite despicable.
Exactly.
You know, he was one of those guys that you love to hate, but, you know, you knew they could never quite justify completely eliminating him.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, it wasn't like he was so terrible that they could just shoot him and be done with it.
I love the character of Harry Mudd. You know, when I was a kid, the original series was on syndication. So I saw every episode as a little kid. So, you know, I saw those before I saw Next Generation.
Okay,
So-
we have 1 for and 1 against the shirt.
Oh, okay, good, because I only saw the against. So we're half and half.
Yeah.
So I'm biased towards the original series.
Well, same with me. That it was, you know, one of those things that basically was playing every night when I was growing up.
Me too. And so because of that, like I don't, still to this day, it's cheesy and campy, but I don't look at it like it's cheesy and campy, you know?
Well, I mean, for its time, it wasn't bad. And, you know, not only did they not have the special effects, but the budget constraints they were dealing with.
Oh,
Like, the reason they don't have a shuttlecraft in the first season was they ran out of budget.
Oh, that's funny.
So they
that's
could
funny.
not afford to build the shuttlecraft, and that's why they came up with the transporters, because they couldn't afford a shuttlecraft for the first season.
That makes a lot of sense because they did get really fancy from season 2 on. That
Well,
makes
yeah,
a lot
once
of
it was proven to be a hit and they got more advertisers signing up for it.
That's one thing I miss about television in general is that we don't have the buildup. Like even in the Next Generation, we knew Worf's entire life story. Like I can tell you more about Worf than I know about my cousin, or people that I see every day. You know, they built characters back then, and now it's like we're gonna throw this person on you, and I hope you like them. TV is kind of it's kind of changed.
Hey, Doorknob Head.
Hey, Doorknob Head, how's it going?
Yeah, well, it's a difference in writing style that, yeah, it can really draw the audience in if you've got some, you know, enigmatic characters that you don't really find out where they came from for a while.
Yeah. You're right. I like having, you know, those set characters that you're familiar with.
Yeah, no, Mage, that was the thing that, you know, the Mudd in the original series, he wouldn't have actually done anything that got anyone killed.
No, he was a goofy villain.
Yeah. Well, he was a snake oil salesman. He would do anything that he could earn a buck on, but he wasn't going to actually try and hurt anyone.
Yeah, he was harmless, but he was like a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
The Discovery one, he was no joke. The Discovery Harry Mudd was, like I said, was a scary dude.
Um,
Oh yeah, I forgot. I pulled out my glasses today. But that's the thing, in Discovery, they changed the characters. You know, they had to make them more modern and more edgy.
I have glasses.
Well, and I think that's what people really objected to. And
Heck
it's
yeah,
like,
Sam. Heck yeah.
you know, they would have done better if they did something like they did with the Next Generation. That, okay, it's still Starfleet, but this is a completely new crew on a different ship.
Even DS9 did that successfully, and Voyager. But Discovery, you know, and I'm saying this being completely biased and loving Discovery, like it started off with a mutineer, and you know, you'd never get that. And I think that's what pissed people off, is that the old Star Trek and the Next Generation, all those shows, it was about order. It was about following rank, and people would branch off. Kirk was a cowboy, you know, but it was about order. And Discovery is people doing whatever they want to, you know, get where they need to be.
How do you see anything? I can't see anything with those glasses on. And
These are like blue blockers. You can't see in, but I can see.
oh, mine are just regular sun.
I used to wear these. Well, I went to this store and I was like, I need some cheap cholo style sunglasses, but they really don't make them because I have a giant face. So I have to get giant sunglasses because I have a huge face, or I just look funny.
Well, I tend to wear big, bulky sunglasses just because I need some that fit over my regular glasses.
There's
You know,
an
so
application. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
There's an application that you can use that'll put sunglasses on your face
I see. I saw a commercial for that.
without having sunglasses on. I have it, but I don't have it running.
There's a company now
Yeah.
that like if you send them your prescription, they'll you can model glasses online. I saw this weird commercial and I was like, people really do that?
I've seen
But-
something like that.
But it's the COVID era, and quite honestly, I can't breathe because I'm a born asthmatic and I smoked for 20 years, so don't feel bad for me. But I won't be going around people for a while.
Oh, and it's not just the pandemic that, you know, places doing glasses online have been around for, about 10 years now. And the big thing is that the places that make glasses, there's like 2 companies that make like 85% of the frames. And that's why they can charge you $400 for a pair of glasses. But these companies that are doing it online, you know, will give you the same pair of glasses for under $100.
Oh, that's awesome.
My roommate literally got a new pair of glasses for $29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
when I
will-
was in New York there, yeah.
I will admit. There you go.
Yeah,
See,
so
at least
I've actually
now I can see everything, and I have sunglasses on.
I've actually been planning on buying a second pair of glasses through one of the online places. Although, yeah, it is a bit of a thing of, you know, deciding which shape of frames are going to look good without being able to actually check them. Of course, for me, that's always been a problem anyway. I need to bring someone else to pick out my frames because if they don't have lenses in them, I can't even see myself in the mirror.
Oh, wow. Oh,
But without
wow.
my glasses, my effective vision is about my arm reach.
Wow. I will never complain about my vision again. I can't see far away anymore, and it just makes me feel old.
Well, and I've even got bifocals, and they're not even for reading. It's like the top lens is for driving. The lower lens is like for the computer monitor for, you know, things that are mid-range.
Mm.
For reading, I take off my glasses altogether to read the print.
I'm the same way. I have to. I can't be wearing glasses. That's like even when I'm on my cell phone, I have it right here because it's like it's at the perfect length. You know, I can't wear my glasses and read at the same time.
Yeah,
Which
if I've
is-
got a book in my lap, the glasses are too much for that.
Oh yeah. I really didn't notice how blind I was until I went to a hockey game and I look up and I couldn't see the score on the Jumbotron. And then I got glasses. I went back, sat in the same seats, and I was like, wow, I'm blind. As the years went on, when I was a kid, I was told in the 4th grade, I was told if you wear glasses, you won't have to wear glasses when you're an adult. Well, I didn't wear them. And so when I was in junior high, they're like, you have to wear glasses. And I told them, you're going to get me beat up. Because I went to I grew up in an era where people still, beat each other up.
Yep.
So you couldn't just show up as 7th grader wearing glasses. That's like a beacon to getting punched in the face. So I didn't wear them. And now as an adult, I have to wear my glasses when I drive. Because I didn't pay attention to the doctors when I was younger. So, pay attention, kids.
Yeah, I used to wear really big frames for the peripheral vision, but I've kind of given up on that, because I realized that in the peripheral, I'm not really trying to see detail or anything. It's enough to just be able to pick up movement. So I'm really good at that my peripheral vision extends really well out to the sides.
I haven't tested my vision in a while. I was going to go get new glasses, then COVID hit, and I was like, what's the point?
Oh, well, that's after we moved. New insurance plan gave me an opportunity to get new pair of glasses. So that was one of the things that as soon as they started taking appointments again over the summer, I got in and got these. Because my vision is definitely gradually fading.
I feel like mine is as well. And the older I get, I just cannot see far away. Nerd!
What can I tell you? I'm a nerd.
I have heard this about the CBD oil.
I was about to ask
helping
the same
some people.
question. Does that really work?
Well, I've heard anecdotal things about it. I don't know if anyone's ever done a serious test of it. So,
because my mom uses a lot of CBD stuff, and she's had knee replacement, a mastectomy, all kinds of crazy stuff, and she says it works. But I think it's kind of woo-woo. And if you tell yourself anything, if you tell yourself it's work, it'll work.
Well, one of the first things that medical marijuana was approved for was glaucoma patients.
Okay.
Because it apparently would help relieve some of the pressure on the eye. So it would make it easier for the eyes to focus.
Oh, then I'll never go blind. Oh, that's funny. It's one of those things, because CBD, they say that it works for a lot of stuff, but sometimes I feel like it's being overstated. I feel like they're saying, oh, it'll cure this ache or that.
It's the new miracle product, and since they can sell something that people aren't familiar with, they make all sorts of outrageous claims.
Exactly. Especially if you go towards the Hollywood or anywhere east of LA, there are CBD signs everywhere. Every store sells it everywhere,
Well, we can't actually buy marijuana here, but there are the CBD stores. And, I have heard that some of that stuff can help with sleep. So I was wondering if anyone knows of a particular one that really helps with sleep. Although rather than smoking it, I'd rather take it as a teacher.
There are certain edibles that'll get you so high you'll just pass out.
Yeah, but even those, here it's medical only. So unless you got a note from your doctor, you can't get it.
You can't even take Marinol, which is THC just in a pill.
I actually haven't heard of that, so I don't know. But I don't think anything with THC is allowed around here. Which I find really strange because Minnesota is usually one of the more progressive states. I would have thought they would be one of the first 5 to have legalized it.
Absolutely. Like I said, I know a lot of people that moved from LA to that area. A lot of people.
You know, the weird thing is how you you get used to things, and like even as bad as my vision is, some days I'll get up and I'll be walking around the apartment for half an hour or so before I realize I forgot to get my glasses off the nightstand.
We are creatures
You
of
know, just
habit.
because I'm so used to where everything is that I'm not really looking for anything while I make breakfast or that.
Oh, if you ever wanted to assassinate me, just move something in my house because I will walk into it and I will fall right over. If there's one thing on the floor, because I'm not looking, because I go stomping around my house.
I'm used to avoiding cats, so.
Ever since my dog passed, I haven't dealt with it. I have not dealt. So it's been almost 12 years. I have not got a pet that wasn't a goldfish or like an ant farm or something.
Well, we have two dogs here, and one of them is completely blind, so we can't really move things around too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to keep everything basically the same all the time. If you introduce something, you have to show the dog what it is ahead of time before you. It's like weird, but
I have a uncle who is blind, and he is more independent than your average 20-year-old. He's older now, like he's of retirement age. But he lived alone. He had his routine, and as long as everything kind of stayed the same, he took the bus every day. He took the metro to LA every day. You know, he had his routine down.
Mhm.
So you can, you can live a normal life even if you can't see.
sure. Yeah, because the dog, you would never know the dog is blind if he came to the home and saw the dog moving around.
Yeah. This would be the other thing for me too, that if it would help with the joint pain from the arthritis. Because I am kind of worried about the amount of NSAIDs that I'm taking every day.
That's one thing. Pot helps. It really does, and that's why I don't understand why it's illegal in a lot of places, because it helps me.
Yeah, well, it was the whole war on drugs thing started in the Nixon era. That there wasn't really a good reason for it. It was just political.
To be fair, my dad was like a really liberal guy. He was a really nice guy, but because he was born in 1939, he would always tell me that the propaganda worked on him. And he told me, he's like, pot's bad. Like he would always tell me, like, even my mom would smoke it every once in a while, and my dad never smoked it because he was in the military too, but he had it in his head that it's a type A drug.
Type A.
Well, it
Like
doesn't really get
heroin
me
and-
high. I've only gotten high twice in my life, and I've had a lot of people take that as a challenge. So they come over and say, I've got this really good stuff, and it's like everybody else is kind of floating away, and I'm just sitting there waiting for something to happen.
Pot is definitely a cerebral thing too, because I like I said the other week, like I go to the dispensary and I walk up and I'm like, give me this. I tell them I need the stuff that I can still be functional. They're like, okay, come over here, because a lot of this stuff I smoke it and I'm like holding onto the couch. But I have stuff to do after this, I have to be productive and make dinner and be functioning, so.
Yeah, well, my ex was involved in a study that basically the study was trying to prove that it had no medical benefits. And she had asthma. And after 6 weeks in the study, she was not having any asthma symptoms. So they canceled her out of the study group.
You know what it does? It calms your breathing. So I have asthma too, and the asthma doesn't go away, but it calms you down to where a lot of asthma is panicking.
Yeah.
And then your lungs start constricting, and you're born that way, but you're doing it to yourself in another way.
Well, yeah, the anxiety definitely plays heavily into it.
And you know what? Being a born asthmatic, unless you've been asphyxiated, the average person does not know how it is to not to not be breathing and still be consciously aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah. Well, my
As your-
fiance had a lot of bad asthma attacks. That's what we were in the air for a lot. And yeah, I know I never really got the concept of it because I normally breathe very shallow. So like, even trying experiments to restrict my breathing didn't have a big effect on me. I never got that kind of panic attack from it.
I honestly don't think I would know what to do if I was taking normal breaths. If I had normal functioning lungs, I think I would freak out for the first day or two.
Well, yeah,
But-
if it's something you've lived your whole life with.
Oh yeah, I've basically lived my whole life with my lungs at like 60, 55 to 60%. But don't feel sorry for me because I smoked for 20 years. I only quit 2 years ago. So if I die of emphysema or something horrible, I did it to myself. Because my good old Black History Month, my dad's dad was a porter in Savannah, Georgia, at the railroad over there, and he was this giant 6'7" dude, and he was so stressed out all the time because I bet people talked trash to him all day, every day, and treated him like garbage. He died of lung cancer. He smoked Camel non-filters until he died of lung cancer. And my father died of emphysema as well.
Okay, well, we're going on 3 hours here, and I have some phone calls I need to make before businesses close up for the day.
Perp, that's
So we
twice.
need to wrap it up here.
That's twice that I ended on a horrible note. That's twice now.
Well, here, how about what? Wrap it up. I had a couple things here that I didn't actually get to use. But if I can find the right documents. Few notes on Black history.
Awesome.
Since it is Black History Month. Alexander Miles was an inventor mostly known for creating hair products, but he used the earnings from his barbershop to buy a real estate office, and in doing so became the first Black member of the Duluth, Minnesota Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, that's awesome.
In 1884, he erected a 3-story brownstone building in Duluth. Soon after, that area became known as Miles Block. And while out with his daughter, he saw that an elevator shaft door had been left open after the elevator had departed. And he put his inventor skills to it and was, concerned about the safety issue, that there were many instances of people falling down elevator shafts. And in 1874, he got a patent for the first fully automated elevator doors that would guarantee that the shaft doors could not be left open when the elevator doors closed.
Awesome.
So in 2007, he was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome.
And one here I wanted to note because it's going to fall between my two streams here. But it was actually February 11th, 1990, that despite people who believe in the Mandela effect, Nelson Mandela was released from prison.
I've heard so many conspiracy theories about that man. It's not even funny. It's not even
so
funny.
it was February 11th, 1990 that he was released from prison in South Africa. And in 1994, he was inaugurated as their first democratically elected president.
That's awesome.
So
I forgot about Mandela.
Yeah, I had to hit that one because the Mandela effect has come up so much. I've been using it as an off-the-cuff joke.
Oh, people take his pictures and they show timelines. I don't look the same as I did when I was 20 or even 25 or even 35, So people change, Ugh,
Yep.
Sure.
laughable.
Well, and, that people aren't aware of what he accomplished after he was let out of prison. You know, he started several charity foundations.
Absolutely. He stood for something. He stood for goodness. And the problem is that no matter who you are or what you are, there will be people there who hate you for who you are and there to tear you down.
Yep.
And so when someone dies, that's when all these crazy stories start happening, and they start doing the spinster effect. And oh, he was this, or he was over here, he studied at this school, and they start adding these facts that never mattered in the first place. So he was a uniter, and people hate him for it.
Well, yeah, politicians tend to have problems with that. All right, so anyone else have any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
I'm gonna shill, but as always, it's important to wear a mask. Don't be a dick. If you see injustice, call it out. But live your life in peace, and all that good stuff. Tomorrow, Jen and I are doing the What the Fuck stream on bodily autonomy. Purple, you're invited as always because we're your warm-up band. So it's the What the Fuck stream. We do it every Thursday. It's something I look forward to. Kitty will probably be there, but Jen and I will be there, and it's just atheists discussing what we're taking on topics, one at a time, taking on the world.
Okay, sounds good. Sam, you got any upcoming appearances?
Well, yeah, we have the TMI show, which is also on Thursday.
Yeah, that's what, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Awesome.
It's Eastern is 1 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Rio de Janeiro, 3 p.m. London, GMT, 6 p.m.
Okay, so people schedule your lunch break for that one.
Yeah,
Germany, CTE, 7 p.m. And if you live in Singapore, that'll be at 5 a.m. in the morning. So tune in to the TMI show at those times.
Sam was ready. Ooh,
Okay.
You were ready.
Anything else? Maybe doing some of Dave's critical questions, or
Well, I haven't seen a call out for that. And I asked Dave about it, and he's being evasive. So, Dave, when you're ready,
I didn't see
a
a schedule for that this week either. Otherwise, I might have volunteered for one.
When he's ready to put me on a schedule, I'll be on the show. Other than that, it's up in the air. I'd love to be on the Critical Crippled show and answer some of those questions, but
Yep, some of them. There's some of them you don't want to answer.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's not going anywhere, and neither am I. So.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I'd just like to finish off with thanking my Patreons. Greg Warwick is my longest patron, along with the Lavender Lady and Mikey Famine. So between the three of them, they're paying for StreamYards for me.
That's awesome.
And yeah, still have to get to assembling the computer, but again, to thank Geo Sam here, he bought the case for the new computer system.
You're welcome.
Okay, so, and we will see you all again.
Oh, wait, one last word. The TMI show is supposed to be a LGBTQ edition of the TMI show.
Oh,
awesome!
And I'm a cis male, so I'm probably going to be learning a lot during this and keeping my mouth shut as much as possible. Anyway, that's all I need.
Well, that sounds like it would be a very interesting one. Unfortunately, the stuff that's in the middle of the day, I usually have to be working on projects, so I usually only get to watch the reruns after it gets dark.
Awesome.
Well, they'll be available just as well. So yeah.
I'll watch it when I'm working tomorrow.
Sure.
Yeah, generally, especially in the winter when there's the daylight hours are so short, I can't waste the daylight.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you.
That's why I pick one day a week to take the day off. I pick Wednesdays. I take the day off. The rest of the time, I'm usually doing something.
Yeah, well, I'm literally just a couple hours south of the Canadian border.
Oh, wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, this time of year, we actually only have like 8 hours of daylight.
Okay.
And I'm not good at getting up in the morning, so I lose half of that.
I wish I didn't have to get up in the morning.
I've always been very nocturnal. That my most productive time has usually been like midnight to sunrise, mostly because that's the only block I know no one's going to interrupt me. Because when I'm working on something, I'm good at working it through. But if I get interrupted in the middle, getting restarted is really a pain in the ass.
Totally understand.
Sure, I get that. Well,
So-
hey, thanks for letting me come on the stream.
Oh,
Purple.
anytime. Always
Appreciate
welcome.
that, yeah.
So yeah,
fun.
we'll see you all then, Thursday midnight, Friday morning for the midnight show.
All right.
And yeah, that's basically the only thing I've got going this week. So catch you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.
See ya.
See you later.